Last week, the Panthers of UNI continued their November roll with a dominating win in the opening round of the FCS playoffs. Meanwhile, the 6-seeded Vikings of Portland State healed up during a bye week and are ready to meet the challengers from Cedar Falls. ESPN wraps up round 2 next. The NCAA FCS Football Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. A soggy Saturday night in the Pacific Northwest, but they love their Vikings here in Portland. Providence Park, the setting for tonight's second-round clash. Northern Iowa and the Panthers getting set to take on Portland State. It's been a busy Saturday, the second round nearly complete. One more spot to fill. Who will make the trip to Fargo to try to dethrone the four-time defending national champs? And with that, a big welcome. Sean Kinney alongside former Florida State offensive lineman Forrest Conley. Welcome to playoff football. Now, this is uncharted territory for these two programs for completely different reasons. This has been the year for Portland State. 9 wins, the most they've had in the FCS era. They're in the playoffs for the first time since 2000. While conversely for UNI, they're no stranger to the playoffs, but they've had a hard time with this second-round game. What's the difference this year?
Well, you talk about UNI, they have to complete the second round. That's been a difficulty for them, and it's been 15 years in coming for this Portland State ball club. This is their second opportunity in the FCS playoffs. They want to bode well.
Make no mistake about it, these two teams are here at this precise moment because of the play of the quarterbacks. Both are similar with the style of play, maybe not physically looking the similar, though. Pretty opposite.
Well, you talk about Alex Caressa for Portland State. He is a dual-threat quarterback, as is Aaron Bailey for UNI. The difference with both of these gentlemen is it's David versus Goliath. Caressa, 6 foot, 190 pounds. Bailey, 6'3", 230 pounds.
You look at the peaking at the right time. Both of these guys have certainly done so. Bailey, 11 rushing touchdowns over the past 4 weeks, while Caressa has 14 touchdown passes over the last 6. Something has to give. The quarterfinals next week at stake. It's a soggy night here in Portland, Oregon. Providence Park, the setting. Portland State and UNI, the first meeting ever between these two programs, and we mentioned the rain. It is going to be a factor throughout the course of the night. Temperature a little bit warmer than normal this time of the year, but the showers anticipated to increase as we go deeper into the night. There is a tricky swirling wind hovering into this stadium from the southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Barney Ball has been the talk of the Northwest this season for Portland State, all because of Bruce Barnum. You talk about a major swing from interim coach to National Coach of the Year finalist in just a short month. Barnum has been able to accomplish that this season. He has brought recognition to this program that was looking for success at this FCS level. He will watch his defense first as we are underway. UNI to get the football and the final ticket to next week's quarterfinal about to be punched. On the return, Dorliant cautiously working his way out past the 30 to the 31-yard line. Let's see how these two teams plan for success. It's brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. And for UNI and head coach Mark Farley, it's been about the month of November. Farley in his 15th season has dominated the opposition in the month of November, 13 consecutive wins. You see what they have done this year. Falls right in line with their 53-17 trouncing last week over Eastern Illinois.
Well, as good as UNI has been in November, December has been fruitless, to say the least. In their last 2 playoff games away from the UNI Dome, they've lost by an average of 29 points.
On first down, Tyvis Smith with room to run. Smith gallops all the way to the Viking 37-yard line. Finally pushed out of bounds, and this UNI offense, maybe the hottest in the FCS field, starts with a bang.
And you see right now, Tyvis Smith, they will get a heavy dose of him throughout this evening. Last week, 147 yards. He averaged over 6 yards a carry. He's a bulldozer.
Smith will try the right side using the stiff arm. The Vikings do a much better job as they shadow him out of bounds. The middle linebacker following him there, that's Jeremy Lutali.
And that's what you have to do to Tyvis Smith. You've got to string him out. You don't want him to get started north and south, because that's when he can get going with that size. At 6'3", 200 and almost 30 pounds, it'll be very difficult to bring him down.
Smith has been on a roll, the junior from Davenport. 3 straight 100-yard efforts, off to a big start here. Again, Smith with room. 25, pushed out of bounds at the 22-yard line. Aaron Sibley, the cornerback. 3 touches for Tyvis Smith. Good yardage.
And you see the elusiveness of Smith. Daniel Fusey's right there to make the play, but he's able to get around him, get around the edge. He has speed to go with that size.
Mark Farley loves to play physical football. His team last week put up 323 yards on the ground against Eastern Illinois. They set up the screen out of the backfield, making the catch. Not much room. Inside the 20, they penetrate the red zone with Savon Huggins.
One of the keys tonight is to watch Jacob Rathmacher, the left guard. He did a very good job last week against Eastern Illinois, pulling around and opening holes for Smith as well as Bailey on the quarterback draws.
Impressive opening drive by UNI, and now they get their quarterback involved, Aaron Bailey. We talked about the similarities between the two quarterbacks with the exception of the size. Bailey is a load, 230 pounds. This guy knows what to do with the football.
And with Bailey, you cannot try and arm tackle him. He's one of those quarterbacks that will run through arm tackles. You have to put your helmet on him. You have to get him down. You want to put hits on him, make him feel it every time he runs the football.
3rd down and 3. They will keep it on a fake jet sweep, and the Viking defense stiffens up. No surprise, Portland State, one of the best in the country on 3rd down defense this year.
And I tell you what, look at the middle of this defense. Daniel Fusey, number 92. He's a load in there. You cannot move him. At 6 feet, 340 pounds, he's going to jam up that middle, that A-gap. That's his job, not to make plays, but to just jam it up and not allow movement.
UNI with 4th and 2 will send out their reliable kicker, Michael Schmadeke. Schmadeke was 4 for 4 last week. This one spotted at the 20. It will be a 30-yard attempt. Kick is on the way, and he hooks it left. No good.
And I tell you what, Sean, after that first play with Tyvis Smith breaking it down the sideline for about 30-plus yards, this bodes well for this Portland State defense. You've got to feel good coming off the field, not giving up points.
Mentioned there is a swirling wind here inside Providence Park, this renovated stadium. Not sure if the wind played a factor in that or if Schmadeke just flat out hooked it as it barely missed to the left. And UNI misses a glorious scoring opportunity early in this game.
And what'll be interesting, Sean, is when you look at this ball club, this UNI ball club, as much success as they've had, in the Unidome, how do they respond playing outside in the conditions? It's a light rain going on right now. How does that affect this UNI offense?
We will get our first look at Alex Caressa and this wild Barney Ball type offense from Portland State. First give of the game is to Nate Tongo, one of 4, maybe even 5 different guys we'll see carry the football for Bruce Barnum. Caressa has been the main guy, the junior out of Millville, Utah, former Utah Gatorade Player of the Year, started his career at BYU. They wanted to utilize him as a receiver, so he went to Snow Community College in Euphrame, Utah. Played quarterback last season, was able to get a scholarship, and has found a home here in Portland. They sweep it out, nothing doing as DeAndre Hall, the Missouri Valley Football Conference Defensive Player of the Year, able to sniff it out and throw the carrier for a loss.
And Portland State had everyone blocked except Hall. If Hall doesn't make this play, he's getting to the outside, and he's got a lot of yards. You see Kraft right there. He couldn't make a move on Hall. If Hall wasn't there and flashed in front of him, he had yardage to get up the field.
4 receivers set. 3rd down and 11 for Caressa. In motion is Carter. They play fake. And Caressa's going to get dumped. Sacked back at the 13-yard line. And this UNI defense, a quick 3 and out. Isaac Alice. These 2 defensive ends for UNI. You'll be hard-pressed to find 2 more talented players at this level.
Well, what you see Alex do is push the offensive guard back. The guard has to do a better job of sitting down in his stance and being stout at the point of attack. You cannot allow a smaller man to get inside hands and push you back and get pressure on the quarterback. The quarterback tried to step up in the pocket. There was nowhere for him to step up. Alex made the easy sack.
Alice has been a mainstay on this defense the past 2 years for UNI. Kinsella on the punt. The Australian kicker gets it away. Dorliant will let it roll. It's a pretty good kick in these weather conditions. So each team has had it once. A quick 3 and out for Portland State. UNI football when we come back. The NCAA FCS Football Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. Forecast calling for heavy showers, some heavy rainfall right now, though not too bad. One of the unique aspects of Providence Park, a lot of the fans get to enjoy the game in the comfort of dry conditions underneath the rooftop. UNI coaches looking on. They saw their offense march down the field, miss an opportunity on a short field goal by Schmadeke, so they begin series number 2, and Aaron Bailey, the Missouri Valley Football Conference newcomer of the year, the transfer from Illinois. 11 rushing touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. He set a UNI record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback this season. It was 17. Also Missouri Valley Football Conference record. Here he'll toss it deep, looking for the speed of Fountain. Incomplete, but here comes a real late flag, and it looks like they'll hit Sibley with interference.
And Aaron Sibley never turned around to locate the football. There was a little arm fighting. I don't know if you called that penalty. Both guys were arm fighting on that play, but Sibley never turned around to locate the football. And it should be noticed that Aaron Sibley is coming back from an ankle sprain. He did practice this week, but he is recovering from an ankle sprain.
Southland officiating crew, Kevin Hassel, the referee.
Pass interference. Defense, number 23. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
And watch Sibley on this play. He never turns around to locate the football. He's continuing the arm fight with the receiver. If he turns around to locate the football, I don't think the official throws the flag on that play.
After the penalty, UNI from the 49-yard line. Looks like Bailey might be checking off here as he looks over at the sideline. Joe Davis in his first year as the offensive coordinator. A new style of offense for the Panthers. Bailey hit as he throws, flings it near side. The catch is made. It's Darian Miller. Miller up ahead for 5 yards. And for the second straight drive, UNI onto the Portland State side of the field. Mark Farley in his 15th year running the show at UNI. The 52-year-old has spent over 30 years in Cedar Falls in one capacity or another. He was a walk-on football standout, all-conference linebacker, longtime assistant, and now has run the show for the purple and yellow through the years. Bailey using his size. We mentioned that 230-pound frame. You better wrap up, and that was a point of emphasis this week for Portland State.
And once again, you see Jacob Rathmacher pulling around, leading Bailey, and Bailey, you cannot arm tackle him. He runs through arm tackles. He follows number 70 in the hole. He gets positive yards, and he always manages to fall forward.
1st and 10 inside the 35. Bailey a play fake, being pursued, throws near side as safety valve makes the catch. It's Braden Lehman with the haul in, about a yard gain. That's it. Bailey heard the footsteps coming from the backside.
And that was a good blitz pickup by Tyvis Smith. Watch him pick up the blitzer, allow Bailey a little bit more time. You see the athletic ability of Bailey to try and get outside the pocket and release the football before he got sacked.
That was Nick Rothstein who put the heat on Bailey. Actually going to give UNI a couple yards on that completion. 2nd down and 8. From the 33. Pressure up the middle. Bailey floats, and now he's going to tuck it and run. He'll get to the safety out of bounds. Some pushing after the play. But Bailey should have enough for the first down. Charles Brown tangled up with one of the secondary players.
And that's the danger of playing against a quarterback that can run the football. They have an extra offensive player. I look for Portland State to use their linebacker, Jeremy Lutali, at some point in time throughout this evening to spy Bailey. You have to keep a man in front of him. You want to slow him down, make him think twice about running that football.
UNI already 73 yards on the ground. We're still in the infant stages of this game. Bailey up the middle, not much happening as that play was shut down by Sadat Suleiman. Suleiman, the senior, former defensive end, who has shifted to the interior. You feel, Forrest, both Suleiman and Daniel Fusi are going to be the keys tonight defensively for this Viking squad.
Well, Fusi, for the simple fact he's a load in the middle. 6 feet, 340 pounds. He can jam up those A-gaps right where UNI wants to run the football in between those guards and Lutali. He's going to have to be downhill. He's a shorter linebacker at 5'11", but that makes it more difficult for these big linemen to get up to him. He has to use his elusiveness to stay away from these offensive linemen, play downhill, but I also look for them to use him to mirror the quarterback.
Injury timeout, one of the linemen down for UNI. We'll let you know who it is when we come back. That is a sight UNI fans do not want to see. We mentioned the power running game by the Panthers. Robert Ratchie, the captain, the most experienced lineman. Keep an eye on him, number 72 in his left leg, as he gets rolled onto right there by his quarterback, Bailey.
And that's what's fearful as an offensive lineman. That's why you're always taught to bend your knees and try and keep your feet moving, because you don't know what's coming behind you. You hate to see that. You hope that he can get back in the ball game. He was able to put some pressure on it coming off the field, so that is a positive sign.
Out of Benton Community High School, Van Horn, Iowa, 2-year starter for UNI, a team captain, the most experienced lineman up front. Justin Putney will step in, the junior out of Forest City. He will now handle the center duties for UNI as they work on Ratchie. 2nd down and 9 for the Panthers. The ball at the 24-yard line of Portland State. Brown in motion. They will keep it. Bailey has a couple of blockers out in front. Bailey hurdles the defender, went right over the top of Sibley, and gets good yardage to the boundary side.
That's a good job by Bailey, but I want you to watch the tight end, Brandon Lehman, number 85. This is what you're supposed to do when you get an opportunity to take a shot on the guy. Watch number 85. Turn around. Oh, he came out. You didn't see it in the screen. He laid out one of the defensive linemen. That's what you have to do. Every chance you get as an offensive lineman, as a tight end, you've got to lay these guys out. Let them know that you're there.
Third and 3 for UNI. Smith, the call, lowers the pads, drives ahead. 2nd and 3rd effort, might get it. We'll wait and see where the spot is. Looks like initially he might be about a half a yard shy. Tyvis Smith trying to will his way to 1st down yardage.
And their bread and butter play is running behind the left guard, Jacob Rathmacher. Once again, you see Smith using his power, his leg drive to fall forward.
They are going to be short, and this is the portion of the field where the drive stalled on their opening series. They tried to settle for a field goal. This time, no unit being sent out there to kick. They're going to go for it, and here comes the crowd, 4th and less than a yard. Deep handoff, 1st down. Over the right side, Trevor Hansen, the right guard, delivering the key block, and UNI converts on 4th down.
And I tell you what, once again, Jacob Rathmacher, number 70, pulls around. That should be the key for Portland State. Watch his footwork and watch where he goes. They're going to run the football behind this young man. He has proven that he will pull around and he will open up holes all night long.
Had a big week last week, knocking off Eastern Illinois defenders. Bailey, trouble with the snap. No problem. Picks it up to the 5 and gets out of bounds. Oh my, from disaster to celebration for UNI. Aaron Bailey the ability to improvise.
And that's a dynamic play by a dynamic player. He did not panic. He got possession of the football, and he got around the edge. And usually when you have a play, it's a broken play like that, the defense reacts to the ball, and they go away from their keys. Good job by Bailey to get as much as he could out of that play.
Full house backfield for UNI. A couple of backs. Bailey from the shotgun. It's a draw all the way. He'll keep it. Trying to lumber ahead. Nothing cooking this time. The green had it stacked up efficiently. Michael Doman, one of the defensive ends, coming in along with Lutali again.
And that's a good job by the Portland State defenders to be stout at the point of attack. They got lower than the offensive linemen. That's what you have to do in goal line defense. Low man wins. You basically want to bear crawl, get under their legs, not allow them to get pushed. That way you allow the linebackers to step up in the gap and get a helmet or a shoulder pad on the ball carrier.
Miller and Brown split left, Fountain to the right, Smith in the backfield. It is Tyvis Smith untouched into the end zone, and UNI strikes first.
And where did they run the football? Behind the left guard, Jacob Rathmacher, all night long. Until you stop it, we're going to keep doing it. He has been the key to this offense, running the football, and when they needed the yard, they ran behind the big fellow.
Tyvis Smith with his 6th rushing touchdown of the year, and UNI has been able to play physical football on their first 2 drives, moving it down the field on Portland State. Only this time they cap it off with points. Tyvis Smith kept the drive alive on a critical 4th and short, and it's the junior from Davenport who gives UNI the early lead. A 3-yard touchdown run, power football for the Panthers. Help us beat cancer. Log on to www.jimmyv.org or call 1-800-4-JIMMY-V to donate. All donations benefit the V Foundation for Cancer Research. Important week as we try to raise funds for the important cause, and UNI looking good in this first quarter. A long way from home. We mentioned the Panthers' struggles the last 2 trips to the playoffs in this second round, but Tyvis Smith has given UNI an early lead, 11 plays, 66-yard drive. Mentioned this Panther rushing attack has cranked it up a couple of notches over the tail end of the season, and already near 100 yards in this first quarter. The Portland State offense has been on the field for 3 plays. That has been it. Short kick. The Vikings will try to change that. And on the return up ahead, taking it out past the 30. Up to the 33-yard line goes the speedster Khalil Dawson as we go back to the touchdown run by Smith.
And I want you to watch number 70, Rathmacher. Watch how he stalks his way up to the linebacker. That's what you have to do. A lot of times, offensive linemen try to fly up there and get the big hit, but you have to realize those guys are better athletes than you are, so you have to take short, choppy steps, and you stalk your way up to them, and you let them decide where they're going to go, and then you take them that way.
Is patience the toughest part of that to teach to a lineman?
Yes, you have to be patient. They're better athletes than you are. So you have to allow them to make the decision, and then you take them where they're going.
Let's see what Caressa can do here on first down. They will hand the football off. David Jones, a 1,000-yard rusher for the Vikings. Not much. He's been a terrific story. The senior out of Kent, Washington, made the transition to running back this season. He was a receiver, a special teams player for the first 3 years on campus. They move him to tailback, and he's one of the best in the Big Sky Conference this year. Second down and 9. Here's the flea flicker, bag of tricks. Caressa, deep ball, has a man, incomplete. Adams wanted the flag. Dorliant was with him. Good no call, and expect a few more of these trick plays from Barney Ball tonight.
And McKinton Dorliant did a very good job of staying with the receiver, not going with the ball fake. You see DeAndre Hall come flying up the free safety, so it was left up to Dorliant to make the play. And I think that's a good play by Dorliant.
You saw some of the closing speed of the Naples, Florida native. He had a huge game last week against Eastern Illinois, an interception, a fumble recovery as well. Third down, Caressa in all sorts of trouble. This is where he's dangerous. There is a flag down in the backfield as Caressa scrambles to the 35-yard line. But as I mentioned, a marker in the vicinity of a hold where the pocket was collapsing.
Holding, offense, number 66. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot.
It's Desmond Thompson.
Correction. Northern Iowa has elected to decline the penalty. Brings up fourth down.
And you see they lose contain on the outside. That's what happens. You see Caressa and his ability to get to the outside and make something out of nothing. That play broke down because of poor offensive line blocking. Caressa tried to get up to the outside, try to get as many yards as he can. Good job not trying to force the football. You don't want to give up an easy turnover.
Pressure up the middle coming on a simple bull rush from Preston Woods. And it's another 3-and-out for Portland State. So the questions coming in about the physicality. So far early on, UNI answering them with a resounding thud. Line drive kick. Dorlian trying to make some magic. Nuh-uh. Well, let's see. He stayed on his feet. No whistle. There is a flag down. Dorlian all the way across the field. Finally corralled at the 29. Everybody in the stadium thought he went down, but somehow apparently he kept his balance.
And Dorlian is a dangerous return man. He had a 90-yard punt return 2 weeks ago. So you have to get ahead on him. You have to make sure he's down. You see the athletic ability.
During the return, holding, receiving team number 29. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Reserve defensive back Jamison Whiting. Take a look here as Dorlian on the line drive kick by Kinsella.
And you see the block in the back right there. The man that actually we thought had Dorlian down is the man that got blocked in the back. But you see the athletic ability, the balance by Dorlian to try to get to the outside. He's a dangerous playmaker with the ball in his hands. And he's a very good defensive back. As you said earlier, Sean, great outing last week. 6 tackles, a forced fumble, and an interception.
Mark Farley and this proud UNI program through the years, making their 18th playoff appearance. Back-to-back years that Farley has guided the Panthers into the postseason. Located in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Their home is the UNI Dome. Well, more than 12,000 for the student base, part of the very powerful Missouri Valley Football Conference. UNI on their third series in this opening quarter. They will keep it on Bailey, left side. Bailey for 4 yards, scrapes ahead, brought down by Jeremy Latali.
Now, this is what UNI wants to do. They want to pound you, pound you, pound you, and by the fourth quarter, beat you down so much that you don't have anything left.
This defense for Portland State has been on the field a lot in this opening quarter. Smith, the call, stood up at the line of scrimmage. Rothstein in on the stop. Backup linebacker anticipated to see more reps tonight because Bo Duranslet has been banged up. He had some ankle issues this week in practice. So the senior right here from Portland, Oregon, Jesuit High School, forced to jump in. That's a big blow for the Viking defense with Duranslet injured. Third down and 5. They move the pocket. Bailey looking, still searching, forced to throw it away. And Portland State gets a big defensive stop.
And what Portland State did on that play is they went with a 3-4 defense. They had more linebackers in. They covered the middle part of the field. That's what you have to do to UNI. You can't continue to play vanilla. You have to go 4-3, 3-4. I think you're going to see 4-3 in the early downs. And if they get them in third and long, then they'll go 3-4. They'll bring more linebackers in. They'll have more coverage on the middle and on the backside of that defense.
Sam Cooters had a good season for UNI, averaging 43 yards a kick. Josh Kraft awaiting the punt near midfield. He'll signal for a fair catch. And Portland State football at the 38. 41-yard punt. We mentioned these two teams coming from polar opposite backgrounds as far as playoff history goes. This has been the season to remember for Portland State. Into the playoffs for just the second time. You have to go all the way back to 2000 when they lost to Delaware in the opening round for their only other FCS playoff appearance. Quite the opposite, UNI. They have been a mainstay, their 18th appearance. They've had a lot of success at home at the UNI Dome, but you see that road record, 4-12. It's been a tough spot. They've lost their last two in this round on the road. Last year to Illinois State, a few years back to Montana. Another trick play as they go with the halfback pass, and it's well defended by UNI. The Panthers not surprised early in the bag of tricks. We mentioned there's quarterbacks all over the field for Portland State.
Well, I like what they're doing. They're pulling all the tricks out of the bag. They're going to make UNI be honest on defense. They're going to have to be prepared for everything that they're going to throw at them. But what's been impressive about UNI is their defensive backs have not gone for those ball fakes and those play fakes. They've continued to play disciplined football and stay on their men.
From the 37-yard line, they will try to get something started on the ground, and there is nothing there. Swallowed up at the point of impact. UNI defense swarming to the football. Isaac Alice again, the senior out of Muscatine, closing in on the school's all-time tackle for loss record. He has been a machine defensively through the years. An all too familiar sight for Caressa and Portland State. 3rd and long. Pivots out of the pocket. Being pursued. Tough throw downfield. Jump ball incomplete. And here comes a flag. Kilfoy, the safety, all tangled up with the intended target, Paris Penn.
And it goes back to not turning around and locating the football. You continue to see this in college football. A lot of defensive backs not turning around and locating the football.
Interference. Defense, number 24. 50 from the previous spot. Automatic. First down.
If Kilfoy turns around to locate the football, this may be a call that they don't make. It's a dangerous pass by Caressa throwing against his body. But you see Kilfoy, he never turns around. He gets his left hand on the receiver. Not much, but getting his hand on the receiver, not turning around and locating the football made it an easy call for the official.
Kilfoy, a senior. He's been a veteran in that secondary for UNI. 3 returning starters off last year's team. Here's a busted play as Penn took the snap. He will try to scramble and avoid the loss. Paris Penn taking the snap from center that time. We mentioned Caressa, Penn, David Jones, Josh Kraft, Thomas Carter, all former quarterbacks. An upset, Sam Houston State, Casey Keeler, a 34-29 win over McNeese. So that side of the bracket is complete. How about Colgate and Sam Houston State? 2 unseeded teams march into the quarterfinals. Josh Kraft in and out of his hands on a perfectly thrown football by Caressa. And 3rd and long for Portland State as you go back to the bracket. Jacksonville State needed overtime to get by the Mocs tonight. Charleston Southern in a defensive battle over the Citadel.
And when you look at these unseeded teams that have gotten to the quarterfinals, it's not about where you're seated, it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. And I like the fact that these teams aren't going in saying, okay, we're not the seeded team, we're expecting to lose. They go in expecting to win. You know Sam Houston State expects to win. They've been winning playoff football for a long time.
Empty set, 5 receivers, a nice pocket initially. Now it collapses. Caressa with some green space will turn on the Jets and pick up the first down. The Portland fans love Alex Caressa for plays like that.
And when you put 5 receivers out on routes, you turn the defenders' backs, and once he breaks contain and he gets outside the linebackers and gets up the field, there's nobody to make the tackle until he gets past the sticks.
Inside 2 minutes to go in this opening quarter. Back-to-back first downs for Portland State. And now movement before the snap.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, 79, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Brandon Chrysler, a sophomore out of Lake Stevens, Washington, a first-year starter. We mentioned a couple of first-year starters on this line with Thompson and Chrysler, both guards. Strength of this offensive line are the tackles, Smith and Davis. Penalty puts them behind the chains, 1st and 15. They'll go an empty set, and it's a draw. This is Penn this time carrying it. So we're seeing both Caressa and Paris Penn take snaps in this first quarter. Not an uncommon sight if you followed this Viking program throughout the course of the year.
They're going to mix it up, and that's what UNI has to be careful of. You've got to have player recognition, personnel recognition. You've got to know who's in the ball game and understand just because Penn is in at quarterback doesn't mean it's always going to be a wildcat type play.
It's the read option here as Penn will keep it, spin out of a torpedo hit by DeAndre Hall and pick up good yardage. Paris Penn's had a frustrating last couple of years, mainly because of injuries. 2013, he was the backup before injuries slowed him down. Last year, he started strong, had a big game against Western Oregon, had a couple of touchdowns against Oregon State, but he separated his shoulder, was able to come back late in the season against Idaho State. And he separated his AC joint, so injuries have slowed down the young man's career here at Portland State. 3rd down and 6, another penalty as Caressa throws it incomplete. See if he caught UNI in the neutral zone.
Defense, number 47, lined up in the neutral zone. Our penalty will remain 3rd down.
A little bit too anxious, Ronell McNeil. Third down, less than a yard on what might be the final play of this first quarter. Northern Iowa with the only score thus far, but the Vikings with their deepest penetration. Pistol set. They will run the dive straight up the middle. David Jones should have enough with forward progress to pick up the 1st down. But the running has been tough to come by for Portland State in the opening 15 minutes.
Now, if you're Portland State, what you want to do is continue to run the football, establish the run, and make them play the run.
So 1 quarter in the books. UNI on top, 7-0. It's been the power game by the Panthers. Tyvis Smith, Aaron Bailey, a little bit too much for the Vikings to handle. Smith's touchdown, the only points here in the first quarter. The rain not dampening the fun here in the Pacific Northwest. UNI might, though. The Panthers on top, 7-0 after the first quarter. Welcome back, Sean Kenny, Forrest Conley, alongside maybe the inventor of the most powerful offense we've seen through the years. Mouse Davis joins us, former Portland State coach and the inventor of the run and shoot and a smorgasbord of other offenses. Coach, great to have you with us.
We'd put the ball in the air a little more than these boys do now.
Even on these rainy nights?
Oh, rain doesn't hurt you at all. Wind's the only thing. Wind and cold, you don't like that. But rain, oh, we love the rain. Throw the ball in the rain.
When you look back at the opening 15 minutes, let's get the coaching hat on you again. What do you think Portland State needs to do here?
Well, slow those guys down. They're pretty fast. I was impressed with Northern Iowa's speed. They got some athletes that can run around.
Well, Coach, it's good to see you. What have you been up to? Take us to where you've been hiding.
Well, once you get really old, then it's over. You know what I mean? They just put you out to pasture and you hang around. No, that's okay. You sit down there. You the man.
timeout in the action. UNI utilizing a timeout. We'll have more from Coach Davis when we come back. Second quarter getting started here in Portland. UNI by 7. Bruce Barnum running a little bit of a different style of offense than this institution ran back in the 70s and 80s. Mouse Davis joining us as we start quarter number 2. Here is Portland State with their deepest penetration, a steady dose of Paris Penn as Penn scrapes to the outside. Take us back to the 70s. You were here at Portland State and you know, coming across the run and shoot and why you thought it would become a staple in football moving forward.
Well, we just had great success in high school with it, scored a lot of touchdowns and all. And so when I came to Portland State, they were going to give up football. And we came in and was able to turn it around throwing the football. And obviously you got to have some passers. And I have a couple of kids that later played in the pros that were very good.
There's the end-around pass, and they are 0 for 3 on trick plays. You can tell UNI has done their scouting report, not fooled whatsoever.
You know, both teams got some talented kids, haven't they? Barnum has really done a great job, as his coaches have, in turning Portland State around.
Now, Coach,
it's just great.
As we see here, you had a couple of gunslingers, June Jones and Neil Lomax in your days at Portland State. What was it like to coach those two?
You know, like Neil, one quarter, we scored 49 points. We're playing Delaware State.
Here's a free play. They'll take a shot to the end zone. Incomplete.
And we scored 41 points, and there's like less than a minute left, so I'm walking down telling you're in. Got the second string quarterback, and he said, what happens if we get the ball back? I said, we get the ball back, first string's in. Then we get the ball back. So Lomax, I walk over to him, and he said, well, what do you want? I said, what do you want? He said, let's go for it. We threw a pass, scored 49 points in the first quarter. That's and it was one of those things going in that they had a lot of good players. They had 3 kids played in the NFL, but they were a little unorganized, to say the least.
UNI penalties hurting them on this drive. A 3rd and short. They will go up the middle. Second and third effort.
Got it.
Barrel ahead for the first down.
You like that one, big boy?
Yes, sir.
Running.
Quick question for you. Why don't you think teams are still running and run and shoot?
They are. All the NFL, that's their whole basis of the pass attacks. They just run it also out of the runs. The biggest thing that's had an effect on them lately is the veer. More and more people are incorporating the veer. Passing, still the same thing. When we first went into the NFL, they didn't have 4 wides. That was not.
Nowhere to go on the delayed handoff to Nate Tongo, 2nd and goal.
Yeah, I think that really that's like I watched Brady play one ball game. That's all they did. They ran like 5 times. They threw the ball. Now next time they might run. They do a good job of really what the defense gives them. A lot of people purport to do that. Most of them don't. Most of them run what they're going to run. Yeah. They get knocked down, drag out. But yeah, it's.
Do you think the speed of the game has taken effect on the ability of teams to be successful? When you ran the run and shoot offense, you averaged 38 points, almost 500 yards a game. Do you think the speed of the game has made it, impossible for a lot of teams to run it consistently?
No, I think because I agree with this. The kids are bigger, stronger, faster now than they've ever been. But they're bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been on both sides of the ball. You have to do some things different because they're playing more and more press man in the pros. And you're going to get beat, you're going to get beat big. But the kids do a great job, and they let a little more go now. They beat you up a little more on defense and coverage than it used to be. I think that's the biggest single change that's had a derogatory effect on the offensive. And not that much, because you still can't stop it. That's it.
Portland State will try to remain perfect on 3rd down on this drive, but they're going to have to talk about it as they will utilize a timeout. UNI on top 7-0, but the Vikings on the doorstep. We'll be back to Portland after this. The NCAA FCS Football Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. 13:28 to go, second quarter. Both teams have utilized an early timeout in the second period. Key play coming up for Portland State. The Vikings have it, third down and goal. Former Portland State coach, the guru of the run and shoot offense, Mouse Davis, joining Forrest and myself here in the broadcast booth as the Vikings out of the pistol, third down and goal. Two receivers both sides. Caressa looking right, floats, back shoulder throw, making the catch, but was it inbounds? No. Adams out of bounds when he hauled it in, and Portland State's going to have to settle for 3.
And that was a good job by the cornerback, Edwin Young, pushing Adams, not allowing him to get that foot down. You see right here, that's what you have to do, push him. Don't let him get that foot down. Let him get possession of the football first. If he tries to push him before he gets possession, that'll be an interference, and that'll be first and goal. So you let him get possession, then you push him. Don't allow him to get that foot down.
Jonathan Gonzalez, two-time all-conference kicker, had a good season again. Real strong, accurate leg, and here comes another penalty.
Delay a game, is that what it is?
Offense. 5-yard penalty, still fourth down.
These types of calls just had to frustrate the heck of you on the sideline here. When you have a situation like this and you have time to get the unit out there.
Shouldn't have a problem with it, should you? Who was that guy that didn't get out there? Let's attack him.
Come on.
I'll tell you, Coach, I hear your frustration.
Isn't that true, though? Now, as long as he gets through, it's okay. If not, then we're going to kill that kid that was late.
32-yard attempt by Gonzalez. It is up and through. Coach Mouse Davis, great seeing you. You look great. Thank you for stopping by.
Hey, best luck to you. Good to see you, big man.
Thank you, Coach.
The Vikings on the board. UNI still with the lead early on, second quarter. The rain just keeps on falling here in Portland, Northern Iowa, on top of Portland State, 7-3 early on in the second quarter. Don't forget, next week you can catch the winner of this game in the quarterfinal round of the FCS playoffs on ESPN3. For more information, go to NCAA.com, the official online home for all 89 NCAA championships. The fans are having fun. This rain, nothing new for the folks up in these parts, and we are anticipating the heavy rain to continue throughout the evening hours here in Portland. 7-3, UNI on top. I tell you what, Forrest, it seems like the Panthers have dominated this game, 114-31 in the total yardage department, yet it's just a 4-point lead for the Purple.
Well, what's been most impressive is Alex Caressa has not completed a pass tonight. They have 0 passing yards. I don't know if I've ever seen that in playoff football.
From the goal line, giving it a shot. Not a real good decision. Special teams coverage by Portland State. Flying down the field was Austin Wolf. Let's go back to that scoring drive for UNI. It's been a steady dose of power for the Panthers.
Well, you talk about power running, their quarterback, their running back, and you see Bailey not panic but get possession of the football and get about 15, 16 yards. And then once again, Tyvis Smith in his power running, you see him be able to plant that foot, get to the outside, and basically walk in for the touchdown.
UNI has bullied their way for 102 yards on the ground. Bailey with 44 of those yards. On first down, a trap as they pull a lineman. Smith gets to the corner. Tyvis Smith all the way out past the 30, stepped out of bounds at the 31. It's an 18-yard run, but there is a flag down back in the backfield.
I think they're going to get Charles Brown, the receiver, number 4, for holding. He was out trying to block Demetrius Jackson. I think they're going to get him on this play.
There is no foul for tripping. The result of the play is first down.
I thought they were looking at the receiver Charles Brown on that play because the official threw the flag right there. Watch number 4, Charles Brown, on the outside. I see where they thought it was a tripping call. But right there, they could have gotten Charles Brown, number 4, for a hold on that play. He grabbed Patrick Onwuasor on that play.
Good news for UNI. The center and captain Robert Rathje back in for the Panthers. On first down, knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Michael Doman got his big left paw on the football.
And a good job by Doman. If you can't get pressure on the quarterback, defensive linemen are taught to stop and get a hand up in the air. Good job. Now you put UNI in an uncomfortable second and long.
Doman, one of 16 children in the family. 13 boys, 3 girls in the family household in Canby, Oregon. Second down and 10 from the 30-yard line. Smith up the middle, knifes ahead for 3. Tripped up low on the play by Xavier Coleman, the junior cornerback.
Now let's see if Portland State goes to a 3-4 defense to try to get more people in intermediate coverage and be able to cover the middle of the field. We're going to that 3-4 defense. You've got more coverage on the outside. You've got more speed on the field right now.
One of the changes this year brought in by Joe Davis for UNI. They go with the no huddle. Third down. Bailey's going to keep it to the boundary side. Stacked up. And the Panthers will be forced to punt. Again, Xavier Coleman lending support.
And that's why you use that 3-4 defense in that passing situation, because you get more linebackers on the field. They're better athletes. They can get to those seams and not allow for Bailey to get north and south. You see, Bailey was never able to get north and south because they covered up all of the holes. That's why you use that 3-4 defense in passing situations.
Sam Cooter on to punt for the second straight series for UNI. Kraft awaiting the kick back at the 25, and they nearly got to it. Kraft from the 30 takes it out to the 36-yard line. A return of 6, and Portland State maybe getting a little bit of that momentum back. The Vikings took an early blow, but they're bouncing back strong here at Providence Park. Both coaches well aware of the weather conditions all week. They had the forecast possibly for some freezing rain. They knew that rain was going to be a factor like it typically is this time of the year. And UNI with an early 7-3 lead. Alex Caressa guiding the offense back on the field. It's been a steady dose of both Caressa and Paris Penn. Behind the center, Cam Kaiser in this first half for Portland State. Barney Ball, an offense that had 5 different individuals carry the ball at least 40 times this year. They spread it out, a number of weapons, unorthodox style. Play fake. Caressa, nobody open downfield, trying to buy some time. Flings it dangerously across the way. Incomplete. Carter, the intended target.
And I tell you what, that was a very dangerous pass. You see Caressa trying to make something. He gets pressure. He goes with the play fake. He doesn't see what he wants initially, and they've got pressure coming up the field. He tries to step up in the pocket. He dances around, but throwing the ball across the field with DeAndre Hall lurking. Don't want to do that. Hall comes into this ball game with 6 interceptions. That could have been the 7th.
Bruce Barnum's offense has been bottled up in this first half, and the ground game has been non-existent. Nowhere to go for Nate Tongo. UNI defense, Deshaun Dexter and the rest of the linebacking core in there with the stop.
I think Portland State needs to look at probably trying to incorporate the quick passing game. Get some quick passes, some short crossing routes. Get something going with the passing game to make UNI be honest on defense. Right now, they're bringing everybody up in the gaps.
Keep an eye on number 93, the Missouri Valley Football Conference sack leader, Carter Schultz. He stays back here looking for the screen. Nothing open. Caressa trying to buy time, and McMakin swallows him up. The sack back at the 27-yard line. Brett McMakin, Mr. Versatility for this UNI defense.
And that's an excellent job by the senior laden secondary for UNI. They had everyone covered up. Caressa had nowhere to go with the football, and the defense was relentless with the pass rush. And you see McMakin, once he got outside the pocket, McMakin's able to come up and make a play on it.
Did you notice the defenders up front for UNI with Woods and Reth and Schultz not getting too deep with their penetration, and that's to prevent the scrambling ability of Caressa. And McMakin was able to chase down the elusive quarterback and get the sack. McMakin's 3rd sack of the season. Good kick by Kinsella, trying to pin Dorliant on the sideline, and he does. Tremendous kick by Marcus Kinsella, setting up his special teams coverage unit. So let's review the brackets. The final game of the day. One spot to be filled. North Dakota State is looking like $1 million again. The Bison all over Montana, 37-6 in another Missouri Valley football Big Sky Conference showdown. The other side of the quarters, top-seeded Jacksonville State advances via overtime. They'll play Charleston Southern and their hard-hitting defense. The surprise portion of the FCS championships, Colgate and Sam Houston State, although I don't think I can say surprise for Casey Keeler and all the success he has had in the postseason. Bailey with a deep shot looking for Doris Fountain, but he was blanket covered there by Coleman again.
And Coleman did a good job of turning around and locating the football. That's what you have to do as a defensive back. Watch how he turns around and locates the football. That's what you have to do, and then you make a play on the receiver. Too often, these defensive backs are running through the receiver. When you see the receiver, look back and look up for the football. As a defensive back, you need to turn your head.
All sorts of room for Tyvis Smith over the outside. Patrick Onwuasor, who we haven't talked a lot about here in this first half. Onwuasor, one of 3 finalists for Defensive Player of the Year honors. The starting safety, former Arizona Wildcat. FCS best 9 interceptions. 3rd down and 5 for UNI. The Panthers 0 for 4 on 3rd downs tonight. They'll try to change that. Bailey up the gut. He'll pick up the 1st down. Scrambling ahead to the 39-yard line. Again, Onwuasor with the stop, but not in time as Bailey picks up 1st down yardage.
And that was a great play fake on the jet sweep action. Everyone with the jet sweep, and he got the ball down the middle of that defense. That's what you have to do. You have to place the ball in that back's belly, make the defense react, then pull it out and get those yards.
After a quick start, Mark Farley has watched his offense stall the last couple of drives, trying to get something started here. Nowhere to go for Smith. Penetration from the get-go. Junior Alexis, a reserve down tackle, and now we have some pushing and shoving, tempers flaring, and flags on the field. Some post-play chatting between the green and the purple.
You can't get a cheap penalty like this.
Concerned look on the face of Bruce Barnum.
After the play was over, personal foul, defense, number 42, hands to the face. It's a 15-yard penalty. The down, correction, it'll be an automatic 1st down.
Sadat Suleiman, who has been a disruptor this year for Barnum and that defense, getting his hands up high, and just an ill-advised play here. Look at that.
Looked like 63 on that play. Whatever the case.
Well, I think they called the hands to the face on Suleiman, and what we just saw there happened away without a flag.
But whatever the case is, you've got to be disciplined. You cannot give up 15 yards to a team like UNI. You just stopped them on 1st down. You had them in 2nd and long in an uncomfortable position. Now they've got 1st and 10 with 15 yards.
4 penalties, 40 yards in this first half for the Vikings. UNI has penetrated the Portland State side. Creeping up was Rothstein, showing a possible blitz, so Bailey's going to check down. They send a blitz on the opposite side. Smith giving ground, trying to use his speed to the corner, won't get there. Nick Rothstein, who's been very active, we mentioned filling in for the injured Bo Durenslett, in on the stop.
And that was a good job by Devon Day to force Smith to the outside, string him along. Once again, you don't want to allow Smith or Bailey to get north and south. You want to keep those guys running east and west, allow pursuit to get to them so you can gang tackle them.
2nd and 8. Bailey in trouble, and he's sacked. A huge loss back at the 41-yard line. Savali Talimuotu with the sack for Portland State.
And that's what you need to have, relentless pass rush. The offensive tackle gave up prematurely. The guard, you've got to continue to get pressure on him. You can't give up the inside. He gave up the inside to the pass rusher. You've got to get your hands on the inside of those pads and punch. You can't catch. You got to punch.
3rd and a mile after the loss of 14. Bailey sidestep, zips, dropped, incomplete. They were looking for Miller. And the sack by the Beaverton, Oregon native has this crowd fired up. More importantly, stalls the UNI drive.
And you make Bailey move outside the pocket. The receiver should have made the reception, but we've talked about the conditions. The rain is picking up out here. The ball is slippery. The receivers have got to squeeze the football.
Ten guys on the line of scrimmage, and the play is blown dead. Looks like movement by UNI.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 2, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Don't you get a feeling for us? This has really been a bizarre first half. Neither team appears to have any offensive rhythm whatsoever.
Well, the one thing that Portland State has done a better job of as the game has progressed is get stops on 1st down and give them 2nd and long. And that way you shorten up the playbook for UNI. They want to run the ball throughout this game, but you shorten it up when you put them in 2nd and long, because now you put them in an uncomfortable position of having to pass the football.
Kick there by Cooter, and Portland State will have it at the 20-yard line. A unique stadium, as we both were given our first tour of Providence Park here in Portland. Now you notice the Vikings in the top position in the upper left-hand corner on the scoreboard. That's not by accident. This is the home to a pretty powerful Portland soccer team who's going to be playing for the MLS title tomorrow. They're in Columbus, getting set to take on the Columbus Crew. So this stadium went through a major renovation in 2011. Beautiful facility here, the Portland Timbers and that Timber Army, as they call it. A lot of folks making the journey to Columbus for the MLS Championship tomorrow, but a unique layout. It's shared both between the Timber and the Vikings here during the fall months. Beautiful, unique facility here in Portland. But we mentioned that renovation, major changes here. $40 million worth of changes. They restructured the field, restructured the layout, added a number of booths and sky boosts to the stadium. And it's impressive. You know, the unique part about FCS football is going around to all the different venues and seeing the different layouts, and this certainly is right up there with them. 2nd down and 5 from the 25, and here comes another flag. Number of mistakes both ways in this first half.
False start, offense 68, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
And just when you get 2nd and short, now you put yourselves back at 2nd and 10. These are the type of mistakes that you cannot make as an offensive lineman. You know when the snap count is. There's no reason for you to be jumping prematurely.
They'll put Caressa as a receiver at the bottom of the screen. And on man coverage by Dorlian as Penn hands it off, and finally some space, and into the secondary goes Tongo. Nate Tongo carrying Dorlian all the way to the UNI 37. There's the burst that Portland State has been waiting for.
And I tell you what, he's the type of back, he's not going to fake you out. He's going to get it, and he's going to go. You see him plant that foot, hit the seam, and he's gone. And he carries backs. He still hasn't gone down. He carries Dorlian out of bounds. He stays up, and that has to have an effect on a defensive back. The next time the defensive backs come up to hit him, they know they've got to bring it because this guy's not coming down. He's usually your red zone, short yardage back, but you see he can get it going.
28 yards of offense prior to that carry. He gallops for 41. Nowhere to throw it for Caressa. So he'll dodge ahead for positive yards. Preston Woods brings him down.
And that's a good job by Caressa. He wanted to get his receiver down the seam, but the safety stayed at home, DeAndre Hall, and had that covered up. Good job not trying to force it in there and get positive yards.
Harris Penn back in under center out of the pistol. Tongo behind him. Caressa the receiver to the right. 2nd down and 6. Penn will keep it on the zone read, pick up 1st down yardage. Sprints to the marker. And Portland State with something cooking. 5:11 to go, winding down this first half.
And a good job by the tight end getting the block on the outside. He almost got a holding call, but he did a good job of getting his hands off of the defender and allowing Caressa to get around the edge.
You mentioned these tight ends. We both got a pretty good chuckle from Bruce Barnum. He said if he could, he'd play with 11 tight ends. Loves that position. Cameron Thompson, Cam Sommer, Dom Jai, 3 of the tight ends that he will use frequently in the rotation. 1st and 10 inside the 30. Another quick hitter up the middle. Stretching ahead is the 200-pounder David Jones. And a little more pep in the step for the Green and the Vikings here in this quarter.
And I tell you what, the big fellas are starting to get a hat on a hat. The guards are getting up to the second level. They've got a 38-pound advantage, and they're starting to use that and lean on these defenders for UNI.
UNI backpedaling a little bit. Portland State picking up the tempo, and Farley's going to burn a timeout. 2nd timeout utilized by the Panthers, and Portland State sniffing at that red zone for the 2nd time tonight. What a year in the Big Sky Conference. They go 6-2. Largest public school in the state of Oregon. You see the numbers, over 28,000 students, part of the Big Sky. The playoffs are fairly new to them. You have to go all the way back to the 2000 season. Lost to Delaware in the opening round. They've had a tough go of late. They were 31-point underdogs in week 1 when made the trip to Pullman and Washington State. They stunned the Pirate and the Cougars, winning 24-17. And then a few weeks later, you see what they did to North Texas, another FBS program, 66-7. It'd be the final game for Dan McCarney as the head coach for the Mean Green. 2 losses by a combined 5 points. Bruce Barnum bringing disciplined football to this Viking program during the offseason. Here's a slant down the seam, knocked away. Good read by Dorliant. They were looking for Adams.
And DeAndre Hall did a good job of closing on that play on the receiver. The receiver knew if he had possession of the football, he was going to take a lick. Good job on the play fake by Caressa. He puts the ball right where it needs to be. And I think the receiver could have made a play on that football, but Dorliant was able to affect him in his vision.
2nd down, Tongo for 2. Getting a second look at that last throw, that's a catch Adams needs to make. Throw was there.
And once again, you have to look at the weather. How does the weather affect the receivers catching the football? We haven't seen many receptions out here this afternoon. The bread and butter for both ball clubs is going to be the ability to run the football. But right there, he should have made that reception. I wonder if he thought the safety coming up was going to put a lick on him. A lot of times, guys can feel those footsteps and they get alligator arms, and they don't stretch those arms out.
Harris Penn in this offense, and they drop the football. UNI lands on top of it. The game's first turnover. Preston Woods, opportunistic, comes up with the recovery for UNI. Wet football, rotating personnel.
And that's what happens when you use the zone read with the wet football. You either got to stick it in the back's belly or you've got to pull it out. When you look at that play, I don't think David Jones thought that he was going to give him the football because he never reacted when the ball hit the ground. I think David Jones thought the quarterback had pulled it out of his belly.
A killer turnover for Portland State. Both these teams have been really good. 2 of the best in the country in turnover margin. And that time it was the UNI defense who comes away with the stop.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 69, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Trevor Hansen, the right guard. And these penalties really taking UNI out of their comfort zone as far as staying on schedule. 6 penalties, 44 yards.
Now, if you're Portland State, you've got to be stout in the middle of that defense. Daniel Fusey and his ability to clog up those A-gaps is key. You want to be stout, not allow them to get positive yards on first down. Put them in second and long.
From the shotgun, they will fake the jet sweep. Somebody got a hand up high. You could see Bailey's momentum, his body get jerked backwards.
That was a good job by the defender taking his hand out, because that could have been a horse collar tackle. You see Bailey with the play fake on the jet sweep action. The defender sticks his hand in there, jerks at the back of his shoulder pads, but pulls his hand out to avoid getting that horse collar penalty.
It's been a very active quarter running the football for Bailey. 13 carries in this game. Neither quarterback really throwing the ball. Bailey 3 of 7. The duo of Penn and Caressa have yet to complete a pass. Tyvis Smith, big hole and room. Smith lowers the pads. I love seeing that from a running back as they finish off the run with a bang as he delivered the blow to Xavier Coleman.
Left side of this offensive line, Jacob Rathmarker, you see him pulling around. You see Tyvis Smith knows where to go. Follow his big guy through the hole. He gets north and south, and once he gets going, it's going to be hard to bring him down.
A 17-yard run by Smith. This time they try him over the right side. Hit hard by Lutalo. And Forrest, again, no Robert Rathje in there at center for UNI. It's Justin Putney, so that ankle still must be bugging the center. We saw him leave earlier in this game, the anchor of the UNI line.
And I tell you what I love about this UNI line, all of these are Iowa kids. These kids love representing the state of Iowa.
Empty set for Bailey. It's a draw all the way. And Bailey makes a nifty maneuver. Aaron Bailey into the secondary. Down the center he goes. See you later. Touchdown, UNI. Did we say this guy was an athlete?
I'll tell you what, Aaron Bailey is basically a running back playing quarterback. They go 5 wides. They spread Portland State out. You see 4 pass rushers right there. Once he gets to the second level with the nifty moves, he gets in the open field, and you're not going to bring him down with arm tackles, and he's got the speed to get to the house. Great play by Aaron Bailey.
UNI, after the Portland State turnover, how a game can change in a few short moments. And the kick is blocked. Schmadeke had it taken right off his foot. So we'll see if that comes back to bite UNI deeper into the night here in Portland. Aaron Sibley, top of the screen, flying on in with the block.
Well, he timed the snap count perfectly. He got around the edge and did a good job of getting his hands on the football, not getting his hands on the kicker. But you see, once again, they spread him out. This is a designed quarterback draw, and you see Bailey's ability to make people miss. And once he gets in the open field, you cannot try and reach out and arm tackle him. He's a big kid, and he's got a lot of speed, and he knows how to run the football in the open field. Right here. You have 2 or 3 defenders that have an opportunity to make a tackle, and you cannot reach out. You've got to hit Aaron Bailey, and you've got to wrap him up. Because if you don't, it's going to be easy going like it was on that play all night long.
This has been his offense really since the midway point of the season. Bailey with that rushing touchdown. He has already set the UNI school record. That is a Missouri Valley Football Conference record. Take another look at Sibley here with the block on the point after for UNI. But for Aaron Bailey in this Panther offense, Bailey started the season splitting time with Sawyer Cole-Morgan. Cole-Morgan, a veteran who had been around Cedar Falls, a very good quarterback. Unfortunately, though, for Sawyer, he sustained a concussion in the win against Western Illinois, his second concussion in as many weeks. So they lost Cole-Morgan for the season, but that allowed Bailey to take everyday reps, and it was from that point moving forward that he really took over this offense. He was used sparingly the past 2 years in Champaign as the Illinois quarterback, and Panthers talked about how it was just reps and time to get him back in the full swing of things offensively, and I think he has found his groove. Already a pair of 100-yard rushers in this first half for UNI. That two-headed dragon of Tyvis Smith and Aaron Bailey.
26 carries, 205 yards. I say the coach is feeling very good about what they've been able to do running the football.
Let's see how Bruce Barnum responds. Down 13-3. Still lots of time, 2.5 to go in this first half. On the delayed handoff, there is not much to work with for David Jones. Hit at the line of scrimmage, McMakin and Carter Schultz.
Brett McMakin on the stop.
In the way that Portland State was beating up the interior of this UNI defensive line, with them being able to get a turnover, get a score, it seems like it may have energized this defense to start getting stops again.
Second and 10. Caressa looking, forced to dump it off. That's the first completed pass of the night. Doesn't go for much. Farley delivered the boom on Nate Tongo. Here we are. We had Mouse Davis on with us earlier, the inventor of the run and shoot in Portland State, with 1:42 to go in this first half. Their first completed pass.
And that tells you how the offenses have shifted to more of a rushing attack.
Caressa with time, trying to thread the needle, jarred free, incomplete. Kilfoy timed it perfectly for UNI.
Good job by Kilfoy getting there when the ball gets there. That's what you have to do. Pretty good pass by Caressa to find his receiver coming across the middle, but Kilfoy does a good job of separating the back from the ball, and you see Deshaun Dexter getting in there also to make a play on it.
Look at this UNI secondary with Kilfoy and Dorliette, Missouri Valley Football Conference Defensive Player of the Year, and DeAndre Hall. 3 seniors. What a luxury to have for Jeremiah Johnson, the defensive coordinator, and Mark Farley. Dangerous catch made in heavy traffic. Marcus Weidmiller charging up, making that catch in the rain. Not an easy thing to do. UNI picking up chunks of yards on the ground. 206 rushing yards. Not much through the air, so here's the question I pose to you, Forrest. With 1:20 to go and only one timeout, how aggressive does UNI play it on this series?
You continue to run the football. They've been playing square chin football all night. Why change up? You've got a 10-point lead right now. You have asserted yourselves as being able to run this football. You continue to do that.
That's what they will do. Smith hit at the line by 3 defenders. Devon Dade was the first one to crash down from his defensive end position. And it looks like we have an official's timeout. Somebody's slow to get up from Portland State. That is their down tackle, Sadat Suleiman. Coming up at halftime, we will continue to pay tribute to Jimmy Valvano in this important week, Jimmy V Week on ESPN. A touching story dealing with the Michigan Blue. You won't want to miss that, plus all the first half highlights and stats coming up at the break. 13-3 UNI. The injured Viking is Sadat Suleiman. Suleiman has lived on 3 different continents. He has been on both North American coast. He was born in Ghana, lived in Europe, moved to the United States at the age of 8.
He's a well-traveled young man.
Yes, he is. Spent some time in the Bronx, New York before connecting up with his stepmother, his adoptive stepmother out in Washington, Spanaway, Washington. Finished his high school career at Spanaway Lake. This kid is all about overcoming a tough childhood and having an opportunity to earn a degree, earn a scholarship here at Portland State, and he has been a big-time contributor up front for the Vikings. The senior, the team leader in tackle for losses this season.
And if you're Portland State right now, you cannot give up a big play. You can't let the offensive players get up on you if you're a defensive back. Don't let them get on top of the defense.
See the clock starting up again. Inside a minute to go. Charles Brown in motion, looking for the wheel route possibly to Brown. He's covered. He's had to cut it off. And Bailey might have got chopped around the helmet there. A face mask possibly coming by Doman in this Portland State defense. Doman had him wrapped up, but I think he got a hand up too high there on Bailey.
That was still a good job getting pressure on Bailey.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 99. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
I'm going to say it's on Devon Dade, who's asking the officials to take a look up at the replay screen here at Providence Park. Let's take another sneak at it.
Let's see, Bailey gets outside the pocket. I don't agree with that. He grabbed his shoulder pad and his jersey. There was never a face mask, but because he spent around, the official made the call. I don't agree with that call at all.
Dave, one of those guys who's gained a lot of weight since last season. He needed to. Bulked up 20, 25 pounds this offseason to play the end spot. UNI with that clock moving, just the one timeout. They run the jet sweep to the speedster, Charles Brown. Nowhere to go. Stretched out nicely by the defense. Patrick Onwuasor along with Demetrius Jackson. Situation here where UNI would love to have those timeouts back. Remember, they had to burn one right at the start of the second quarter after the quarter break.
But I think UNI will be satisfied going in with a 10-point lead. When you look at the conditions, we've talked about them not being successful in the month of December. We've talked about them not being successful in second-round play outside of the Unidome. I think right now they would feel pretty good going in with a 10-point lead when you look at the weather conditions.
Play clock to 2. Bailey is going to put it in the air, settles underneath for Tyvis Smith.
Portland State is doing a good job of not allowing Bailey to have a lot of time to pass the football. He's been able to get rid of the football, but it's only been to checkdowns. He has not been able to go vertical with the football.
Mention the verticality. That is a part of the UNI offense with the speed on the edge. Charles Brown, Doris Fountain. 2 track stars for the Panthers. 3rd and 7 UNI. Closing seconds of the second quarter. Portland State rushes 3. Drag pattern is caught. Cunningham makes the catch. He's whipped out of bounds at the 40-yard line. And now if you're UNI, you have a strong kicker in Schmadeke. You still have one timeout, so you can go the center of the field and start thinking 3 possible.
But do you want to do that? Remember the last time he was in to kick an extra point, he got it blocked. If you go out there and try and kick a long field goal and you get it blocked and you allow Portland State to scoop it up and get a scoop and score, now you go in at halftime only up by 3.
Let's see how the Panthers play it. Interesting dilemma. Brown with the catch, sprints down the side. He'll pick up close to 8 yards. And UNI, I believe, is going to use their timeout with 2 seconds to go.
Timeout, Northern Ireland. 3rd and final timeout of the half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
So they are able to get the football in field goal range for Michael Schmadeke, who hit from 50 earlier this year, but that was in the Dome in Vermillion, South Dakota against the Coyotes.
Well, what's interesting about this play as a kicker, when you get blocked, you think about that. Kickers use rhythm when they're kicking the football, and his rhythm may be off because he got his last extra point blocked. You know, with the long kick, the trajectory is not going to be as high, so he's going to try and get a lot of foot in it. So you got to look for the middle of this defense to jump up and try and get a hand on the football, but also from the outside, can Sibley get across and get over and get another block? And if he does, can they get a scoop and score? I think this is very dangerous by UNI.
You saw the flag a few moments ago. The good news for Schmadeke, the wind has really died down here in Portland tonight. Very calm and tranquil despite the rain for this 49-yard field goal by Schmadeke. A season ago, he was 27 of 29. UNI and their proud tradition of kickers through the years, and Schmadeke trying to give the Panthers a late 3. And now the old ice job as Bruce Barnum's going to use a timeout.
Their second half. This will be a 30-second timeout.
You look back at this first half, I don't think any real big jarring surprises. UNI has been able to run the football. We knew they wanted to play that physical style. Maybe the biggest surprise would be the UNI defense slowing down Portland State like they have in this first half.
Well, when you think about Portland State, they had a week off, and sometimes that hurts you as a ball player because you lose your rhythm, and you've got to get back into football rhythm. A lot of people think that off weeks are great for teams, but when you get to this part of the season, you want to continue to play. I think with UNI playing last week, being in that rhythm has kind of helped them early in this ball game. You see Bailey and Smith look very comfortable out there running the football. They've been able to break runs, and they look like they're in rhythm right now. Portland State just does not look like they're in rhythm offensively.
They will officially mark this as a 50-yard attempt for Schmadeke from the far hash. He has missed already once tonight. And here comes another stoppage.
Side, defense, number 23, unabated. 5-yard penalty. Play results in a first down.
Well, you mentioned Sibley trying to get an extra head start there, a fraction of a second too early coming off the corner.
Well, that's what he did the first time when he got the block on the extra point. He was able to time the snap and get a perfect jump. And if I'm UNI, I'm going to go with a hard count. I'm going to see if I can get him to jump again.
Schmadeke, who missed from 30 back in the first quarter, hooked it left. Kicking in the opposite direction this time, trying to give UNI the momentum at the break. From 44 yards, good snap, good placement, kick on the way. It too is good. He splits the uprights. And the Panthers a long way from home. In control here at the intermission. UNI 16, Portland State 3. The defense for the Vikings stepped up early, but McMakin and company just too much. The turnover and the long touchdown by Bailey. Panthers in control. Welcome back. Halftime here at Providence Park in Portland. Portland State and UNI. The last 14 months of Chad Carr's all-too-brief life strengthened the Michigan man's family, united a community, and reminded a football team and its coach about the power of courage. Gene Wojciechowski takes a closer look.
On November 14th, just outside Ann Arbor, Michigan, Christmas came early for 5-year-old Chad Carr. It had to.
Okay, what are we doing?
Opening present.
What's today? What is today?
Christmas.
Chad's been very excited about Christmas. And he had a great day. He loved it.
Time is a very strange thing for us right now. Because it feels like it creeps, but at the same time it feels like it flies by. And I don't even think anybody who has not been in our shoes can really understand that.
Chad Carr was born a Michigan man on September 25, 2010. Not that he had a choice. His dad Jason was a Michigan quarterback and met Tammy there. His grandfather, Tom Curtis, was an All-American there.
Number 25, Tom Curtis, who leads in Big Ten.
And his other grandfather, Lloyd Carr, won a national championship there.
You come out of the womb singing the fight song in this house. Chad's a little different, stubborn and tough for sure.
He's been that kid that I'm gonna wear green. I like Michigan State. But he does that to tease his brothers, to tease me.
Chad, the youngest of the Carr family, was like any other little boy growing up. And then in September 2014, he suddenly wasn't.
He had fallen and broken his nose. And as we walked out of the ER, he tripped and fell. And I just started thinking about how many times he had fallen recently.
The Carrs took Chad back to the hospital for tests. Those tests revealed he had an aggressive form of pediatric brain cancer called DIPG, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. Only about 300 children per year worldwide are diagnosed with this inoperable cancer.
You think cancer and you think, okay, what do we need to do to fight this? What's the treatment? What's the protocol? And when they say there isn't any for this disease, that takes the wind out of you. And I remember I just fell on the floor. I sat on the floor in the hospital for a long time.
Doctors told the Carrs that Chad had about 9 months to live. As Chad's diagnosis became public, Michigan men everywhere asked how they could help.
Coach Harbaugh called us. He said, hey, why don't you bring the kids over? And he played with them for an hour and a half, and it was, it was amazing.
He has Tom Curtis blood coursing through his veins. He's got Lloyd Carr, Jason Carr, Tammy Carr, blood coursing through his veins. Then you experience love for the little boy and his family.
The power of love wasn't confined to Ann Arbor. Rivalries didn't matter. A hashtag became an anthem.
I am Chad Tough.
And a little boy became an inspiration.
Joining the game captains for the coin toss is Chad Tough. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Carr family.
But as time passed, Chad's condition slowly worsened.
The amazing thing to me is he has never said, not one time, Dad, why can't I walk? When is my arm going to work again? He showed us how to get through this.
By the time Michigan played Indiana on November 14th, Chad was in hospice care and in the thoughts of those Michigan players.
Our guys were moved, not just to dedicate the game to him or write Chad Tough on their helmets, but they're praying, and they're praying hard.
You saw towards the end of the game, Michigan football wasn't alone. Chad was right there with us.
Rudock with a pump fake, stop and go, and it is a pitch and catch for a touchdown. Michigan survives.
On November 21st, as the snow fell softly outside, and those Michigan men played at Penn State, a family stood tender watch. 2 days later, and 15 months after his cancer diagnosis, Chad Carr could fight no more. But the impact of the little Michigan man lives on.
We have this reach. This kid has this reach. And this disease needs that. So that hopefully, a few years from now, when a kid gets diagnosed, they say, he's got DIPG, and this is how we're going to treat it.
I need to know that a lot of good is coming out of that little life. And I believe that is happening. I truly do. And that's an amazing legacy. My 5-year-old son is changing the world.
Welcome to Jimmy V Week for Cancer Research on ESPN as we continue our commitment to the V Foundation and Jim Valvano's dream to defeat cancer.
To me, there are three things we all should do every day.
Number one is laugh.
Number two is think.
Number three is you should have your emotions move to tears.
If you laugh, you think, and you cry,
that's a full day. Cancer can take away all my physical abilities.
It cannot touch my mind.
It cannot touch my heart.
And it cannot touch my soul.
And those three things are going to carry on forever. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Please help us beat cancer. Log on to www.jimmyv.org or call 1-800-4JIMMY-V to donate. All donations benefit the V Foundation for Cancer Research. The rain and the Pacific Northwest weather have not slowed down UNI. The Panthers have led from the get-go. A late field goal by Schmadeke. UNI 16, Portland State 3. We'll be back with more, including the second half, right after this. The NCAA FCS Football Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. A good look inside Providence Park. Yeah, it is raining. It's been raining since the kick tonight. UNI, though, not slowed or fazed by the weather. 16-3, they lead it over Portland State. Sean Kinney alongside Forrest Conley. And Forrest, we knew coming into this game UNI wanted to impose their will up front. They thought they were the more physical team, and they certainly did not disappoint in the first half.
Well, you said it, the offensive line, they've set the tone for UNI. They've been pulling the guards have and knocking people down. They've done a good job of stalking the linebackers, getting to the second level and covering those guys up. They have not allowed Portland State to stop them from doing what they want to do.
UNI really started with a bang on their opening drive. It was a steady dose of Aaron Bailey and Tyvis Smith.
Well, you said it, Sean. Bailey, Smith throughout this ball game. They got to the outside, they got to the inside. One of the most impressive plays was when Bailey was able to get the ball and get through the middle. But you see right there, right when Portland State had something going, they fumbled the ball inside the red zone. But here's Bailey making probably the biggest play of the ball game on a designed quarterback draw. He breaks a couple of tackles, and when he gets to the open field, you cannot bring him down.
Both Smith and Bailey over 100 yards rushing. You see UNI doubling up the Vikings in the offensive categories, 236 yards. Not a lot of passing in the first half. In fact, just one completed pass by Portland State. Does that have to change in the second half?
It has to, but they have to go with the quick passing game, short crossing routes, screen plays. You've got to use that penetrating UNI defense against them.
Will it be an all-Missouri Valley Football Conference quarterfinal next week in the Fargo Dome? North Dakota State, the four-time defending champs, had their way with Montana. UNI trying to march in and have a rematch with the Bison next Saturday. You see Richmond and Illinois State, another Missouri Valley Football Conference school. The Redbirds able to knock off Western Illinois earlier today. A big fourth quarter for Trey Roberson and Marshawn Coppridge, and the Redbirds and Spiders clash in the quarterfinal round. The FCS and this playoff race really starting to take shape. One ticket to be punched. Will it be UNI or will it be Portland State? We're 30 minutes away from finding out. The Vikings will get the football first to start this second half. And big adjustments. Let's start with Portland State. What does Barnum need to do to get things back in his corner here early in this third quarter?
Well, they've got to figure out an identity. They've got to get some of the passing game going. We know they want to establish a run. That's what they do, run the football. But because of UNI putting 6, 7, 8 in the box to stop the run, they've got to get some passing going.
Good return, takes it out past the 25, up near the 30-yard line. So Portland State, this offense coming into the game, averaging 35 points per contest, 257 yards on the ground, 10th best in the country. all bottled up in the first half. Only 88 yards rushing, just 90 total yards.
Well, in a bad weather game like this, it all depends on your offensive line. These are the games that offensive linemen dream about. You put it in their hands to try and get it done, and they've got to get it done up front.
Alex Caressa put up record-type numbers in his days at Mount Crest High School in Utah, one of the most prolific passers in the state's history. Not the case here, as a big hit is delivered. David Jones trying to get that steam going right up the gut following Crucilis, but look at the contact here at the end of the run.
Well, I like the play because it's straight down the gut of the defense. That's what you want to do north and south initially. And when you look at that play, positive yards. Now you've got second and short. You've got a plethora of plays you can run now.
Quiet first half for the 1,000-yard rusher, and there's a tackle for loss. Carter Schultz busting up the play, dropping Caressa back close to the original line of scrimmage.
And Schultz and the rest of this UNI defense will bring pressure off the edge. You see, because of the wet ball and the high snap, Caressa never got full control of that football. You've got to make sure you get possession of the football. That's why when you play the read zone offense, it's very dangerous when you're playing in wet weather.
That tackle for loss, by the way, gives Schultz the UNI single-season record. Trouble coming, the two ends collapsing. He avoids Farley, still looking. Now he's hit by Schultz as the wobbler falls incomplete. Dodging bullets left and right. Carter Schultz, who was able to hit him as Caressa let her fly. And it is Schultz who is down for UNI.
Well, it went 5 wides, so you know the pass rush is going to come when you go 5 wides. They brought 4 pass rushers. They walked the linebacker up, so there was more than they could block, and they did a good job of getting pressure on Caressa from both sides. Caressa had nowhere to go with the football. He could not step up in the pocket because the guards weren't stout at the point of attack. The tackles got beat around the edge, so he had no width in the pocket to slide side to side. He had nowhere to go with the football. That's what this UNI defense wants to do.
Good to see the junior from Tripola, Iowa, pop up and running off on his own power. What a season. The Missouri Valley Football Conference sack leader. We saw the TFL a few moments ago on Caressa. That gives Schultz the UNI single-season record. For tackle for losses in a season, he surpasses John Herman in the record books. Another versatile defender for UNI. We talked about McMakin kind of shuffling back and forth from the linebacking core to defensive end. Schultz, one of those guys who's bounced back and forth from the interior to the edge, and he's really found a home opposite of Isaac Alice. Kick by Kinsella. Y. Miller in the Panther football when we come back. 13:34 to go, third quarter. We'll see the UNI offense for the first time here in the second half. This is like a balmy Saturday night for Iowa residents. Yeah, they have the stocking caps, the faithful making the long journey to the Pacific Northwest, northern Iowa, Cedar Falls, Iowa. Strong contingency. We talk about this beautiful park, Providence Park, the UNI Dome back in Cedar Falls, celebrating its 40th year, the palace, if you will, of UNI football through the years.
Wait, hold up, Sean. Did you just say balmy?
It is.
Cold is cold wherever you are. It is cold out here.
For Iowans, anything plus 40 degrees in the month of December. Break out the shorts and the tank top. Bailey takes a shot downfield, drop. Maurice Fountain had the defender behind him, Jackson, but Fountain was unable to haul it in.
And you are the guy that goes into the ocean in Portland.
What a beautiful drive. You know, you mentioned as we take a look here at the drop by Fountain, the scenery up in this area, just magnificent. Yesterday had a chance to go to the scenic Highway 101 route, Seaside, Earhart, Cannon Beach, beautiful. Took a little dive in the Pacific, nothing wrong with that. Second down 10, they're going to hand it off, trying to get Brown utilized with his speed, and he is hit hard. Escorted out of bounds by Aaron Sidwin. These receivers for UNI have been quiet, both sets of receivers.
Well, they've had opportunities, but they hadn't been able to squeeze the football because of the ball being wet. But a good job by Brown to put them in 3rd and 5. It's 3rd and manageable. And that's the one thing that UNI has been able to do all evening. that Portland State has not been able to do. Get it in third and manageable.
This Portland State defense, one of the best at taking the football away. 28 turnovers throughout the course of the year. Boy, could they sure use one here. Instead, they'll settle for the stop at the line of scrimmage. They have both avenues corralled on the zone read. 3 and out for UNI.
And a bit conservative on the play call by UNI. They want to be careful with the football. You see the play fake on the read option. But a good job by Daniel Fusey to show up right there in the middle. He didn't make the play, but he showed up. And you talk about a massive man, 6 foot, 340 pounds. Aaron Bailey thought second before trying to run up against him in the middle of that defense.
Lakio made the stop. Kick is away by Cooter. Another bomb of a kick. Kraft on the back pedal, Fields at the 18. Corrals his options to the 30, shoots ahead to the 32-yard line. 14-yard return. Each team has had it once. Portland State trying to crank up Barney ball when we come back. (16-3) UNI on top. 12:23 to go in this third quarter. Of course, you have this Portland State offense really struggling, trying to find any type of rhythm. What do they need to adjust, especially with the passing game, to try to get Caressa on track?
You've got to go with the short passing game, the short crossing routes, some screen passes to use the speed and the aggressiveness of the UNI defensive line against them. I don't like going 5 wides in an empty set. You don't have a prolific passer in Caressa, and you allow these defensive linemen to pin their ears back and come after him.
See what they change up here on first down. They will go straight up the middle. They've had some success when they challenge the interior of the UNI defense. Tongo, the ball carrier.
If you look at the interior of the Portland State offensive line between the 2 guards in the center versus the 2 defensive tackles, you're talking about a 40-pound difference. They've got to use that weight advantage and try and beat them up in the middle of that defense.
That's what they're trying to do here as they give a second straight carry to Tongo. UNI up for the challenge. The Panthers able to bring him down with Carter Schultz. UNI fans over the past few years had the luxury of watching 2 of the best up front, Mac O'Brien and Xavier Williams. Those 2 combined 29 TFLs, 13 sacks a season ago. Some guys like Adam Reth, Preston Woods, Bryce Douglas having to step in for the Panthers. Third down. Let's see if UNI jumped into the neutral zone, or was he enticed? Did Kyle Smith flinch?
Offense, number 4, 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
It's going to be the wide receiver, Kraft.
Well, it's got to be right at the moment of the defensive lineman coming across the line of scrimmage that the offensive player reacts. If it was a delayed reaction, then it's on the offense.
That is the 8th penalty of the night by Portland State. Caressa, 1 of 8, 2 yards for the game, putting it to the air with time, escapes, trying to scramble ahead, keeps his balance, and how about the second and third effort by Alex Caressa? And that might be enough for the first down. Looks like it will be. That is 100% effort for the 185-pounder.
And you see Caressa do a good job of trying to climb the pocket. He didn't see anything. Now he needs to be careful with the way he's carrying the ball away from his body, but he does a good job to fight and get as many yards as possible.
Caressa rushed for over 700 yards this year, a couple of 100-yard games, including a big one against Montana. Jones trying to sidestep his way to the outside, nowhere to go. Schultz, Woods, all in the vicinity for UNI.
And Jared Farley did a really good job of coming up and filling the hole and not allowing Jones to get going.
Preston Woods, a run stopper, only played 4 games last year, sitting behind Big Mac O'Brien and Xavier Williams. South St. Paul, Minnesota, doing a nice job tonight. Remember, he has the fumble recovery, the game's only turnover. Straight up the middle with a full head of steam. Hitting the hole hard is Tongo. And a manageable third down for Portland State.
Now, what I don't want to see Portland State do is go 4 or 5 wides, because now you give the defense a key to bring that pressure off the edge. They're going 4 wides again with a single back. Now that defense is going to pin their ears back, and they're going to come after Caressa.
They'll keep Farley in the box for UNI from his linebacker spot, shadowing Caressa. 3rd down and 5. Pressure comes, Caressa throws, caught! Oh, what a hit! And this might be targeting on Dexter. Carter held on to it. 1st down, Portland State. And a possible targeting coming up on Deshaun Dexter for UNI.
Now, for it to be targeting, he has to launch himself with the crown of his helmet and hit a defenseless player.
Big call in this game. UNI linebacking core that is not deep. And Dexter watching with great concern.
Personal foul, targeting on the defense, number 30. Play resulted in a 1st down. The previous for further review.
So they're going to take a look upstairs at the targeting call here, and Deshaun Dexter delivering the blow.
Let's see if he launches himself first of all, and does he lead with the crown of his helmet? Yes, he launches himself into the defender, and it looks as though he's leading with the crown of his helmet. And if that's the case, he may be ejected from this ball game. I think he may be ejected from the ball game because he launched himself and he put his head down and led with the crown of his helmet. That's the key to this call. The defender is defenseless, and he launches himself and he leads with the crown of his helmet. I wouldn't be surprised if he's ejected from this ball game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's a doubt that that was targeting. So UNI could be put in a precarious situation here. Portland State, their first real true completion downfield. A wobbler by Caressa, but a critical 3rd down conversion for the Vikings.
And you know, it's interesting. A lot of older football players would say it's just a hard hit, but this is to protect the players. You know, they talk about heads-up tackling, and you want to get away from using the crown of your helmet because you get neck injuries, and you put the player that's catching the ball in a position to get hurt. And you want to protect the game. So this is all about protecting the game.
Inside that Portland State huddle, we asked Bruce Barnum, you know, with this change in philosophy this season, with the success that they have enjoyed, what were the big things that you did to get such a quick turnaround? A program that went 3-9 last year, and very simply, he said he stripped it down and he changed the culture around this program. From some of the simple things, such as the music that they play during practice, to no jewelry in the weight room or in practice or on game days. Simple things that the athletes bought into, and what a turnaround for Portland State as we take another look at the possible targeting here from Deshaun Dexter. And Forrest, both of us agree that's a pretty clear-cut call of targeting right there. I mean, that's by definition targeting, what we just saw.
Well, I like the fact that officials are taking their time and making sure, because this is a very critical play if Dexter is ejected from this ball game.
Looks like they have reached a verdict upstairs. Tense moments for Farley and the Panthers.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Number 30 is disqualified. 1st down.
And I think that's the correct call. He launched himself, he led with the crown of his helmet, and it's about player safety. And what's interesting is, even if he would have led with his forearm and you hit the offensive player above the shoulders, that is rules to be ejected as well.
And that's the misconception lots of times with targeting. They think it has to be with the crown of the helmet. It doesn't.
If it's with the forearm, above the shoulders.
Above the shoulders.
The player's ejected.
So Dexter is done. The junior from Orlando, Florida, A.J. Allen, a redshirt freshman, into the lineup. Here's a botched snap. Caressa in all sorts of trouble, does his best at throwing the football away. Good poise under fire by the former BYU Cougar, Alex Caressa.
And once again, you see the snap get away from Caressa. And every time they get inside the red zone, the first play seems to be disaster. The last time they were down in the red zone, they got a fumble when he tried to stick the ball in the back's belly on the read option and pull it out. Right here, a bad snap. Can they get something positive?
Tongo is the running back. They have a pair of receivers split to the top. In motion is Chase Lofton. They give it to Tongo over the right side. McMakin the tackle. Third down for Portland State. As we take a look at the targeting rules, the personal foul, we saw the 15 yards enforced, and the ejection, targeting of a defenseless opponent with contact initiated to the head and neck area, or with the hit by the crown of the helmet in any situation. Saw them take a look. A replay this year overturns the ejection and the 15-yard penalty. Portland State thinking 6. 3 still keeps it a 2-possession game. Third down and 8. Caressa dancing, zigzagging, trying to buy some time toward the end zone. Touchdown, Portland State. Lofton hauled it in.
And you see Caressa buy time in the pocket. He steps up, he doesn't see what he likes, he tries to get to the outside, he's continuing to scramble, and now you want your receivers to just get open, and he does a good job of delivering the football down the field. Chase Lofton squeezes the football to make sure he makes the reception to get the touchdown.
The longest drive of the night for Bruce Barnum. 9 plays, 68 yards. Alex Caressa with his 17th touchdown pass of the season. And the point after is up and through by Gonzalez. And the Vikings are back in this game. Alex Caressa threw for over 100 touchdowns in his days at Mount Crest High School in Utah, showing his versatility. The strike to the end zone. Vikings in the score column. A former BYU Cougar hooking up with a former Utah Ute. Force. That doesn't fly, does it? But that's the case here for Portland State. Caressa finding the former Ute, Chase Lofton.
Well, Caressa does his greatest friend Tarkington impersonation. You see him continuing to run around until he finds a receiver to deliver a football to, and a great job by Lofton to squeeze that football and make sure he holds on to it to get the touchdown. Now the game is interesting, and now let's see how UNI responds to the offensive touchdown by Portland State.
Bruce Barnum told us that Alex Caressa had one of the longest highlight videos that he's ever seen on the recruiting trail, some 45-plus minutes. Here's Charles Brown, the speedster, getting to the outside. A penalty flag is thrown in as Brown is tossed down. And here comes a second marker, maybe on a horse collar here on the toss of Charles Brown. So let's sort out the laundry.
They may re-kick this ball because I think it's going to be offsetting penalties.
Did you notice who threw Brown? That was the kicker, Kinsella. Little Australian rules rugby from the Australian native.
You know, as a kicker, you get angry when the guy returns one of your kicks. You know, I don't mind a kicker getting that penalty because if he doesn't get it, he might still be running.
There is no foul for a horse collar tackle. However, holding on the return team, number 33. That penalty is accepted. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Well, you see the holding right there. What's interesting, when guys get called for holding, usually they're throwing their hands up and saying, not me, not me. Why not just keep your hands down to your side? You're telling the official Yeah, I did hold.
Kinsella all smiles, the Melbourne, Australia native, telling the guys how to tackle. Yeah, you see me throw him around? Bruce Barnum sensing a little momentum change here. Portland State back within one possession.
How much energy does this bring about to this Portland State defense? And it starts right now on first down. You've got to get a stop. You want to put them in second and long.
Aaron Bailey, Tyvis Smith, both over 100 yards rushing. Can they dial up that ground game? Smith gets the call. Tyvis Smith using that lead arm as a propeller, but help out defense arrived. Resistance coming from Jeremy Lutali. Lutali's not a big guy, just 5'10", 220 pounds, overlooked in high school. Did not receive a lot of attention from colleges, but he's found a home here in Portland.
And that play was made by Nick Rothstein, getting in the backfield and not allowing Tyvis Smith to get north and south as quickly as he wanted to.
2nd and 9 for the Panthers. Zone read. Bailey will keep it, protect that football with his left arm, and dance out of bounds. The sideline personnel felt all 230 pounds of Aaron Bailey there.
And he's a tough guy.
Yes, he is.
He's a pretty tough guy. But this is what you want to do with Bailey as well as Smith. String them out. Continue to string them out. Don't let them get north and south. You see them east and west, east and west. You allow pursuit to catch up to them. Once you allow those two backs to get north and south, it's very difficult to bring them down.
Everybody's still in one piece. High formation for UNI, 3rd and short. Smith, the call, tackled at the line of scrimmage. Lutali from the backside. Doman also in on the play, and Portland State forces the punt.
And what they did, they walked the linebackers up in the gap. You see Tyvis Smith have to take it to the outside. And once you do that, get him east and west, you allow pursuit to catch him from the back. That's what you've got to do with these guys. You see him east and west, trying to get north and south, but he can't because every gap is covered.
Yeoman's another former BYU player. He spent 2013 with the Cougars. One of 15 FBS transfers on this Portland State team. Kraft with the fair catch at the 30-yard line. 35-yard punt. And Portland State will have the football with some life and able to build momentum thanks to the creativity of that man right there inside the huddle, Alex Caressa. He had the big 3rd down completion, poise under fire, and then his improv on the touchdown throw to Chase Lofton.
Well, he had 2 completions on that drive, one more than he had the entire first half. And I think now if you're UNI, you've got to respect him throwing the football.
The chant of PSU echoing through this beautiful facility here in the Pacific Northwest. The read by the quarterback, Caressa, not happening. Farley, the coach's son, wrapping him up low. North Dakota State, the Bison, until somebody dethrones them, it's their show. They were victorious earlier today, blowing out the Grizz of Montana. 4 straight national championships for North Dakota State.
They are the big bad wolf of the FCS.
I mean, you really put that into perspective. 4 straight crowns. They went through a coaching change as well. On the delay, Jones with some space. Hop skips his way out of bounds near midfield. It's like Jones might be cramping up along the sideline as well. 19-yard burst by the senior.
And you see Jones's ability to get to the outside. The draw play, you use their speed against them. They're getting up the field. You allow them to get up the field, and then you hand the football off to Jones. It was interesting talking about North Dakota State. They've got a senior class that has won, 4 straight championships. If you're redshirted in that program, you may be able to walk away with 5 national championships.
Gang tackling by UNI. Preston Woods has really played a solid game for the Panthers. He was the first one in there meeting Tonga.
And with the shorter defensive linemen for UNI, it's difficult to get low. Offensive linemen don't like to bend their knees. They like to bend their hips, bend at the waist. You've got to be a squatter, especially when you're playing against a shorter defensive lineman, because I don't care how big, how strong you are, if a guy gets under you and gets his hands inside, he's going to beat you every time.
In motion is Carter. They will give it to Tongo, trying to bounce out a couple of would-be tacklers, and UNI stretched it out perfectly that time. Nowhere to go. He tried about every possible hole, but the Panthers shadowing him every step of the way.
And I tell you what, this guy's a bowling ball. He will not go down. You see him get stopped at the point of attack. He bounces it to the outside. He tries to find a block. He bounces off another would-be tackle by Dorleon. He's not going down this entire evening.
Caressa came up golden on these 3rd and longs on their last drive. Can he dial up another? Pressure comes from Schultz. He spins out of his path, still looking for somebody downfield. Look at Caressa go, fires to the side, incomplete. DeAndre Hall with the coverage, looking for Carter, but Caressa pulling off a Houdini, getting away from Carter Schultz. Not too many quarterbacks have done that this year.
Well, you hear the crowd booing because they think it was a face mask. Caressa is doing his best Fran Tarkenton impression. I don't think it's a face mask. It's the shoulder pad. You see right there, his head spins around, so the crowd thinks it's a face mask. But I tell you what, Caressa has been doing his best Fran Tarkenton impersonation this entire second half. He is slippery. He's not going down. He's not going to go out without a fight. I love the fire in this young man.
Kinsella will try to pin UNI deep. Weimiller with the fair catch at the 13. 38-yard punt. And the UNI defense force comes up, I think, with a big stop. There's still tons of time, 4:06, but this place was starting to generate a little bit of energy. Yet the Panther defense able to get the football back into Aaron Bailey's hands.
What I think we see now is confidence out of Portland State. They feel like they can slow down this UNI offense. The key, once again, is continuing to make Bailey and Smith run east and west, not allow them to get north and south.
We'll keep an eye on Bailey. He was limping a little bit after that last drive. They stretched him out pretty tightly along the sideline. They're going to test out that leg, and Bailey looks pretty good there as he pushes out near the 20-yard line.
And Bailey got about 7 yards on that play, but at the same time, they kept him east and west. They didn't allow him to get north and south like he wanted to. They stretched him, stretched him, stretched him. That's what you have to do. You can't let him get north and south.
One time he's been able to get north and south. He took it 61 yards for a touchdown in the first half. Inside 4 to go in this third quarter. Bailey is going to wobble to the right side. Throw underneath, nearly intercepted by Onwuasor. That guy has been an interception machine, leading all of college football with 9 picks this year. He nearly had number 10.
And Onwuasor played this perfect. He played underneath the receiver. You see him undercut the receiver and dive out and almost make a great play.
What a year for Onwuasor. First team Big Sky selection.
But what they've done is they've gotten UNI out of their comfort zone.
Smith up the middle. And this will be real close depending on the spot. Onwuasor, another tackle. And Forrest, you think it's a little bit short.
I do. A good job once again by the big fella, Fusey, showing up. He didn't make the play, but he showed up, number 92. And he made Smith change his mind and try and cut it to the outside. That's all you want the big fella to do, show up. Smith knows he's not going to be able to run through 6 feet, 340 pounds, so he cuts it around, and Pursuit once again makes the tackle.
Cooter's had a good night punting the football. It waits the snap inside the 10, and again, Portland State nearly got to it. Kraft on the line drive, takes it out near midfield. And good starting position for Portland State. Vikings have come close a few times in getting to Cooter.
And sometimes defenders, when they're almost close to blocking the punt, they pull up if they don't feel as confident that they're going to get the block. The one thing you don't want to do is give them the ball back on a cheap penalty, roughing the kicker. I think it was a good job by the defense to pull up. You've got too much time. You're on a roll defensively. You don't want to put your defense back on the field.
Alex Caressa spent last year at Snow College, Frame, Utah. Quarterback for the Badgers, one of 2 junior college All-American quarterbacks, threw for over 2,300 yards last season. He will hand it off to Tongo up the middle. And UNI buckles up defensively. Preston Woods and McMakin, those two have been active all night. Vikings picking up the tempo a little bit. 2nd and 10. Inside 2.5 to play in this quarter. Caressa with some time, but he overshot Tongo out of the backfield. See Caressa tapping his shoulder. That's on me.
Yeah.
He was probably stunned. It was one of the few times tonight he hasn't had to scramble. He actually had a nice pocket set.
And he put too much on the football. Now, this is a key play. You don't want to give up a turnover on this play. You know, you don't want to be too conservative. You want to try and get the first down. I think the crossing routes are something they need to look at.
Carter and Kraft are the 2 inner slots here on 3rd down and 10. Caressa being pursued by McNeil, throws down the middle. Let's see if Farley held on. He did. Interception, UNI. Jared Farley with the pick.
Just what you don't want to do. You do not want to throw it back across your body. He's gotten away with that on a couple of plays, and I said it, a turnover is not what you wanted here. You see Caressa right here scrambling to his left, trying to throw it back across his body, and the defender steps right in front of that throw. Easy pick for Farley.
2nd turnover of the day by Portland State. Jared Farley, the coach's son. Jake, his older brother, was 2nd in the Valley in tackles last year. He has graduated. That number 46 has been worn through the years by the Farley family. It all started with Mark in his days as a walk-on at UNI, and his 2 sons have carried on the tradition. Loose football, let's see. Whistle is blown. They're going to say the play is dead, as Portland State's Patrick Onwusar took it back toward the end zone, but it's coming back.
Now, what'll be interesting is if they go back and look at this play and he covered the ball, if it is indeed a fumble, and he covered the ball up right at the time of the fumble, then it will go over to Portland State. But I don't.
Was down by rule.
So they're not going to look at it. But if they did, and he did cover the ball up right as it was let go, then that would be Portland State's football. I think he was down.
Yep, Melman swung him down. There's a shot down the seam. Diving attempt by Fountain, incomplete.
And now Portland State has them right where they want them again. 3rd and long. This is not a comfort zone for UNI, especially in a bad weather game. The rain is continuing to fall, and you put them in a position where they've got to pass the football. I think you'll see that 3-4 defense again. They'll have coverage in an intermediate part of the field to make sure they don't get anything short.
They rush 3. They set up the screen. Doesn't fool anybody. Great job staying at home by Lutali. And UNI forced a punt for the 3rd time in this quarter.
And they went with the 3-4 defense again. If you watch the linebackers set down right behind the defensive line, they had one guy spying Bailey, the other guy watching Smith. Look at the linebackers. They're just standing there. They're not rushing. They're spying. They're making sure that Smith or Bailey does not get going.
Let's see if the Vikings come after it. They've had a few near misses on these punts. Here they come again, and they nearly got to it again. Cooter delivers a bombshell of a kick, and the special teams coverage by UNI. Oh, what a night punting by Sam Cooter.
And I tell you what, what's dangerous about going after those kicks, you don't have anybody back to block. So you're leaving your punt returner back there in no man's land, and he's not calling for a fair catch.
It's a 48-yard punt under duress, and Cooter changes the field position around for UNI. So Portland State again with the football and a chance to take their first lead. They have never led tonight. UNI on their opening drive took it all the way down the field, missed the field goal attempt, but then they were able to score in a Smith touchdown. Long touchdown run by Bailey. The only score here in the second half, a touchdown pass. Caressa to Lofton as they go back to work. Tongo scrapes ahead up past the 20, took a shoulder blow from Preston Woods. Jared Farley, all these UNI coaches talked about how smart he is beyond his years. He's the only guy that defensive coordinator Jeremiah Johnson allows to talk during practice. He trusts him that much. Caressa has some space if he wants to take advantage of it. It closed quickly. And Farley able to close the separation and get down on the quarterback, setting up a third down.
And speaking of Farley, when you're a coach's son, you usually have a high football IQ, and you see that in his ability to read what the offense is trying to do. I think that's a good job by Caressa getting as much as he can out of that play to put them in third and short.
Alex Caressa and Portland State trying to build some momentum as they march in to the fourth quarter. It's been a special season for the Vikings. UNI trying to spoil their fun. Barney ball. Will it continue in the fourth? Back with more from Portland after this. We march into the fourth quarter. One more spot for next weekend's quarterfinals. UNI on top, 16-10. Sean Kinney alongside the well-dressed Forrest Conley. Look at this big guy. I thought offensive linemen were tough. What's this on your head here?
This is my abominable foe man attire.
Can you tell Iowa native, Atlanta resident right here? Caress a little shovel toss to Tongo. He was feeling the heat. Nowhere to go. Alice putting on some pressure.
And I'm surprised they tried to throw the football on third and about 3. I think you continue to try and run the football. You haven't been as successful as you'd like, but that is not a down when you throw the football. That was a very dangerous pass by Caressa, throwing the ball in the middle of the field right there, trying to get it to a back when he had so much pressure coming around him.
This has really turned out to be a defensive battle in the second half. Yards coming by a premium. Kinsella gets the kick away. Miller backs off. Takes a nice little bounce for the home team. And it will be UNI football when we come back. The Panthers leading by 6. Trying to get into the quarterfinals for the first time since 2008. The NCAA FCS Football Championship is presented by Northwestern Mutual. The rain has been falling from the get-go tonight. UNI has been in the lead from the get-go. And the Panther offense, which ran wild in the first half, bottled up somewhat in the second half until now, and there goes Bailey. A foot race all the way on Musor. Can't catch him. Touchdown, UNI.
And what's most impressive about this run, we've talked about it all night. Once you let Bailey get north and south, it's hard to bring him down. But the fact that he's able to outrun Musor, a defensive back who had an angle on him, and get to the end zone is more impressive at 6'3", 230 pounds. What an impressive dynamic athlete at quarterback for Northern Iowa.
A career night for Bailey with his 184 yards. A 61-yard touchdown run, and now he adds 69 yards to his resume. Aaron Bailey wanted to find a fresh start after a couple of frustrating years in Champaign. UNI happy to have him, the Bolingbrook native, 69 yards for the Panthers. UNI doing a little dancing. Panther faithful, part of the 8,000 plus strong here at Providence Park. He's got the Portland beer going. Aaron Bailey has his part rolling tonight. Bailey with a career high 184 yards. We mentioned at Illinois, just 14 games, 79 plays, and spot duty over 2 years. Played just 5 games last season for head coach Tim Beckman. Behind Wes Lunt and Riley O'Toole on the depth chart. And UNI has been able to find the FBS transfer the last few years at quarterback. Breon Carnes last season for the Panthers, the transfer from Nebraska. And this season it's Bailey. And the beauty of it for UNI, just a junior, he still has another year of eligibility, and he's trying to take the Panthers deep into the postseason this year, his first year in Cedar Falls.
And now for Portland State, they're in the same position that Eastern Illinois was in last week in the fourth quarter in the second half. They're almost in a position where they have to throw the football every play because time will continue to run off the clock. The clock is not their friend. And with this UNI defense and those pass rushers on the outside, on the edge, they're going to start to pin their ears back and come after Caressa.
Caressa 3 of 15 for 37 yards. Delayed handoff to Jones. Nuh-uh. Alice says, see you later. Right around the waist, locked on. Loss of a couple.
And Chrysilis, number 79, did everything he could to try and block Alice, but you can't do it. You've got to get inside hands. If you don't, these defenders are going to be able to play off of you the entire evening.
Alice not a real vocal guy. That was one area the coaches worked on with him to try to be a vocal leader. He's such an impactful player for UNI. Caressa fires toward the side, and it is caught by Adams.
And you see what UNI is doing. They put Alex on the inside and put Carter Schultz on the outside. So they've got both of their elite pass rushers on the same side. They're focusing on the right side of that Portland State offensive line. They may have found a weakness, and they're using that to their advantage. That's where they're getting all the pressure against the right side of that Portland State offensive line, right in Alex Caressa's face.
3rd and 7 for Caressa, looking that direction. Keeps the gun in the holster. He'll try to sprint ahead, go into a protective slide, and he should have enough for the first down. Improvising Caressa. It's been a hard night for him. He's earned every single yard that he's picked up.
And you see Carter Schultz coming off the edge, and once again, Isaac Alice coming on the inside. A lot of people would think you would want to get your pressure coming from the backside, but against Caressa, who is only 6 feet, you've got to get pressure in his face. You want to let him see it coming. You want to make him react, and I think that's what they're trying to do, make him react on every play and not pass the football.
Time for Caressa. Spinning around like we've seen him do all night. He'll spin, take an avenue, and now he's into the open. Caught from the backside by Farley, but not before he rumbles to the 32-yard line.
And once again, he's channeling his inner Fran Tarkington. You see him, he doesn't see what he likes. He's a spinning top in the backfield, and he sees a seam, and he gets north and south. And just when we thought he's going to go down, he breaks it to the outside.
29 yards in the scramble. Bruce Barnum trying to steer this ship back into a one-possession game. Caressa down the middle, going up high is Kraft. He'll make the catch in front of Kilfoy. 1st and goal, Portland State.
And Caressa does a good job of reading the defense. He sees man coverage in the middle of the field, and he delivers the ball where Kraft can get up and make a play on it. Good job by Kraft, high pointing that football and squeezing it.
Kraft was the starting quarterback for the final 3 games last year for this Portland State program. Made the switch to receiver this year with the depth at QB. Receiver slipped and fell as Lofton blew a wheel trying to create space with Edwin Young.
And this is in a territory where you use UNI's aggressive defense to get them. You see at the bottom of the screen, let's see if the receiver slipped. Yeah, the receiver lost his footing and slipped on that play. Good no call by the official. The ball didn't look like it would have been catchable anyway. But you've got to use the speed of UNI's defense against them right here. Maybe a draw play.
They have Jones in the backfield. And they will hand it to Jones, sprinting to the 5, jumps into the end zone, touchdown, Vikings.
That was a big-time run by Jones. You see him plant that left foot into the ground right there. And once he gets to the outside, it's catch me if you can, and nobody's going to catch him. He gets across the end zone. They get the touchdown. And now it's interesting once again.
Gonzalez adds the point after. And Portland State right back in it. 7 plays, 73 yards. This guy was not even a running back last year for the Vikings. 1,000-yard rusher jumping high into the air and the night here in Portland. Help us beat cancer. Log on to www.jimmyv.org or call 1-800-4-JIMMY-V to donate. All donations benefit the V Foundation for Cancer Research. 100% of all direct cash donations to cancer research. Jimmy Valvano touched so many, and his legacy continues all week here on ESPN.
It's a good job by Jones getting to the outside, beating the defender across the field, and once he gets in the open area, nobody's going to stop him from getting the touchdown. Now, can the Portland State defense get a stop? Can they not allow Aaron Bailey to beat them like he has this entire second half?
The approach and the kick by Kinsella. From the 5-yard line, Charles Brown. Brown survives the pounding as he takes it up past the 30. A return of 27 yards. Big hit put on that time by Tyler Foreman. And now here comes UNI and this offense led by Aaron Bailey. Look at Brown, a little gimpy coming up as he absorbed a pretty good shot there. So if you're UNI, what do you anticipate from the Panthers?
Bailey, Smith, Bailey, Smith.
Going out on a limb, huh?
Why not? I'll tell you what, they've slowed Smith down this second half.
They have.
But Bailey has been a nightmare.
From the 31-yard line, that's Cunningham in motion. Here is Bailey, and he doesn't get much. Scrapes ahead for a yard. Nick Rothstein in there again for the injured starter, playing a whale of a game. Rothstein, another tackle.
And A.J. Slaughter did a good job of clogging up the area where Bailey wanted to run the football.
Yardage category becoming a little bit more equal and balanced. Portland State has really caught up with UNI. 248 yards offense to the Panthers 325. Same play, Bailey over the right side. Same result, nothing. 3 defenders all pursuing the quarterback, Junior Alexis and company, and a big 3rd down for the Panthers.
And that was a good job by the Portland State defensive line. Jacob Rathmacher tried to pull around, but he had nowhere to go up in the hole to lead Bailey on that run. Early in the ball game, he was able to clear out space, get up to the second level, and get a block on the linebackers. That play, he had nowhere to go. They clogged it up.
lot of pre-snap shifting both ways. UNI goes empty. They don't show this look a lot. It's a draw by Bailey, not fooling anybody.
And what Portland State did on that play is they played man coverage and they brought the blitz package. They gave Bailey nowhere to go with the football. It was a low snap to begin with. They're bringing pressure off the edge. They force him to step up in the pocket, and the linebackers are there to meet him.
Sadat Suleiman stayed home. Suleiman was injured earlier in this game, and Forrest, you go back. That's the exact same play that sprung Bailey 61 yards for a score back in the first half.
And that's just smart defense. Their biggest weapon has been Aaron Bailey, and that's who you have to stop.
Line drive, bouncing kick. UNI surround the football. And Portland State will have it when we come back. One more ticket to be punched to the quarterfinal round. The Bison anxiously awaiting the winner of this one. The rain continues. The comeback continues. Portland State football from the 23-yard line, trailing by 6. The jet sweep. Kraft, patient running, gets good yardage. Dorliant escorts him out of bounds.
And I like that play because now you're in second and manageable. You got positive yards. That's what you want. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you've got second or third and long. Passing the ball has not been the way you've been most successful this evening. You've got to continue to run the football.
Again, that's Kraft in motion. This time, quarterback will keep it, and he is swallowed up in the backfield. UNI was there. The Panthers with a number of different players. Wyatt Pfeiffer in. Remember, Dexter was disqualified for his targeting call earlier in the second half. So Pfeiffer, one of those guys seeing more reps for UNI. A big third down in this game. Carter Schultz and this Panther defense trying to slow down that young man, Alex Caressa. 3rd and 3. Caressa's going to throw under pressure. Down he goes. The Missouri Valley Football Conference sack leader comes up with the play right up the middle.
And once again, the right side of that offensive line is where they're concentrating, where they're getting pressure. You see it right there. Now he comes from the left side. They're moving Carter Schultz around. What they're doing, they're confusing the offensive line. He's an elite pass rusher, and when you get him on switches with these guards, they can't move their feet fast enough. You've got to keep your feet moving as a guard. You've got to be able to go side to side. You cannot allow these pass rushers to get past you.
4th sack of the day by the Panther D. The 13th sack of the year for Carter Schultz. And UNI and this defense hold serve, if you will.
At the end of the day, to win championships, you've got to win with defense. Too often we see great offenses get into the championship ball game and lose because of better defense. So that's what you've got to depend on is your defense right here, Portland State. You got to get another stop.
Schultz, a junior out of Tripola, Iowa, actually part of an 8-player football program at Tripola. Put on a lot of weight on arrival on campus as Tyvis Smith into the secondary, and Smith in a foot race. They're not going to catch him. The Davenport Bruiser scores for UNI, and the big play ability for the Panthers continues to propel them closer to Fargo.
And that was a great read by Smith. The nose tackle, Fusey, slanted his way right outside and right away from where Smith ran the football. He ran right in the area where the slant went away from him. Great job reading the hole and gashing him down the center of that defense. Jeremy Latale had an opportunity to make a play, but he could not, and you cannot try and arm tackle these big backs. You've got to hit him. He tried to reach out and arm tackle him, and Smith was gone.
UNI will try to get their missed PAT back here, leading by 12. They will go for 2, leading 29-17. They move the pocket. Bailey looking toward the corner of the end zone, floats it up, incomplete. Looking for the tight end, knocked away by Jackson. So UNI settles for the 6 and not the 8.
And they tried to sprint Bailey out to allow him to get more time to find an open receiver. He tries to float it up and see if his big tight end could come up with the play. He couldn't. Braden Layman, 6'7". He's taller than everybody else out there on the defense. I think he put a little bit more air under the football. Layman may have been able to come down with it.
It has been a quick strike UNI offense on the ground. 69-yard touchdown run, 61-yard run, those two by Bailey. You see the career night for the junior quarterback, and then Smith with that 59-yard gallop. Now matching a season high with 166 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, these two guys have combined for 352 yards rushing, and you see once he gets to the second level, there's no one there. Because they're bringing so many people up in the box to try and slow down the running game, when the back gets to the second level, there's nobody there to make the tackle.
David Johnson was the phenomenal running back at Northern Iowa the past 4 years. Now with the Arizona Cardinals, and quite a relationship Johnson built through those years in Cedar Falls with Tyvis Smith. Giving ground in all sorts of hurt back at the 10-yard line. Not a real good decision. Y. Miller with the special teams coverage for UNI, and Portland State will start in the shadows of their own goal.
Natago trying to make something out of nothing. He's running backwards. If you don't have it, just go down. You lose about 15 yards trying to make a special play. If you don't have the speed to get to the outside, you can't put your offense in a bad position like that. Now the ball is deep in your own territory. Your back's against your own goal line, 15 yards in, and you've got to start throwing the ball because time is running out.
The trend in this second half has been when UNI has been able to score, Portland State has delivered the countermeasure. The Vikings had a number of chances, especially in the third quarter, to take the lead, just could not generate any offense. So let's see if the trend continues for Caressa. Forced to go to the air, floats it, and it's caught. Coming back to the football, picking up close to 20 yards, is Darnell Adams.
And that was a dangerous throw because you've got McKinton Dorleant out there on the outside, and he broke on that football. He didn't get there quite on time, but you've got to be very careful if you're Caressa throwing the ball to the outside like that.
.87 yards through the air, 48 yards running tonight for Alex Caressa. He hooks up with Adams again. Darnell Adams gets out of bounds. Lots of time. 7:32 to play, fourth quarter. Winner gets four-time defending national champ North Dakota State next weekend in Fargo.
And what I don't like by the defensive backs for Northern Iowa, right now they're backing up. They're playing a bail technique at the snap of the football.
On the delay, unable to spin away, was David Jones. Good open field tackle made by McMakin. He's in double digits. That's his 10th tackle of the night. Both Farley and McMakin leading this UNI team.
And this is what you want your linebackers to do. Once they read the play, step up in the hole, meet the back, wrap him up, get him down.
Is this four-down territory for Portland State?
The rest of this ball game is four-down territory.
3rd down and 2, 6:45, clock moving for the Vikings. Caressa zips underneath and a nice diving catch. Good hands by Kraft. And the Vikings move the chains with the 3rd down conversion.
And that's a good job by Caressa to stand there with the pressure in his face and deliver the football.
Oh boy, Carter Schultz, the injured Panther, on his back being attended to. Mark Farley has talked about his defense throughout the course of the year, and one of the main anchors has been Schultz. 13 sacks, 21 tackle for losses this year. Two of the more disruptive defensive ends at the FCS level when you pair Schultz with Alice, and those two trying to get a rematch with North Dakota State. The Bison blowing out Montana today, 37-6. Bottom half of the bracket is Illinois State and Richmond. There were 5 Missouri Valley Football Conference schools among the 24 teams selected, all 5 on the same side of the bracket. Jacksonville State, the top seed, able to win in overtime over Chattanooga. Charleston Southern beat the Citadel, and then Colgate and Sam Houston State kind of blowing up the bracket in the bottom half.
And Jacksonville State is a team I think people need to be wary of, a team that can go a long way in these playoffs. They got upset last year at home in the second round. Sam Houston State came in there and beat those guys. They were undefeated last year. And this is a team that pushed Auburn to the limit the first game of the season this year. That is a team that I think can possibly dethrone North Dakota State if they get there.
We saw Alice walk off, or excuse me, Schultz walk off in his own power, holding his rib area as Jones dances to the outside. Nifty little run by David Jones.
But the problem is he didn't get out of bounds, so the clock continues to run. And I don't see a sense of urgency by Portland State.
Viking offense has moved the football well in the second half after being held to just 80 yards in the first half. Down the middle, intercepted. McMakin with the interception for UNI. And this Panther defense with their 14th interception over the last 3 games, including this one. They have been a turnover machine. Usually it's the secondary. Tonight it's been the linebackers.
Well, Caressa telegraphed that pass the entire way. McMakin with underneath coverage sat there and watched the quarterback's eyes and read him, and it was an easy pick. Look at Caressa. He's looking at where he's going to go with the football the entire time. McMakin is sitting right there waiting on him to release that football.
Brett McMakin, Jared Farley. No Deshaun Dexter in this second half because of the targeting, but the junior from Overland Park, Kansas, with his second interception of the year, and that might just seal the deal for UNI. Both these teams in the top categories in the takeaway department, and it's been UNI winning the turnover battle tonight. Bailey takes his loss as he slides down, avoids the big hit from Dolman, second down. And all Caressa can do is watch as the clock continues to wind down. And can Aaron Bailey and this UNI team finally shake free of the demons that have plagued this program the last 2 trips into the second round? Last year, the loss at Normal to Illinois State. Second and 12, Smith over the right side. There he goes again. Picks up a downfield block from Boughton. A flag comes in. Fountain might have held on a little bit too long with the block. And this one's going to come back.
Holding. Offense, number 10. 10-yard penalty for the spot of the foul. Play still results in a first down.
Although it's a holding penalty, it happened about 40 yards from the line of scrimmage. And you see right here, Fountain on the block. Just let him go.
Yep.
You got to let him go. And he knew it as soon as he saw the flag come out. Right here, Fountain, you see his hands on the outside. You've got to keep your hands inside the shoulder pads. And you've got to let Sibley go. And he knew it.
A new career night for Tyvis Smith. 201 yards rushing. And Mark Farley watching his dynamic duo do it again. Remember, no Michael Malloy today. He's out with a broken arm sustained last week. Panthers content to gnaw at the clock inside 5 minutes to go.
And I like what Bailey did on that play. Instead of taking any unnecessary contact, he just got down. No need to take unnecessary contact. The clock is your pal right now. You want to continue to run clock. You don't want to be anywhere near the out of bounds. Even if you don't get the first down, you use up the clock. I'm surprised Portland State has not started to use any of their timeouts. You can't take them with you. Why not use them? You never know what could happen. It's still wet weather out here. You still have a slippery ball.
On the jet sweep. Trying to cut the corner was Darian Miller. One-on-one tackle made by Zach Berg. Miller, a Kansas transfer, spent a few years with the Jayhawks, recruited by Turner Gill. He was dismissed from the Kansas team, but then reinstated the following year by Charlie Weiss. Things just did not work out in Lawrence, so he flocked to Cedar Falls and UNI, and again, like Smith and the rest of these running backs, learned from a good one last year in David Johnson. 3rd and 10 for the Panthers. Time running out for Portland State. Good use of the play clock as they took the snap with a second to go. Bailey at the 30 slides ahead. And this will be real close to another Panther first down.
And he got it. But once again, even if he didn't get it, you saw what he did. He slid, stayed in bounds, as opposed to running out of bounds. You want to keep that clock going.
It has been a magical run, quite a year, one that will be in the record books for Portland State. They beat Montana and Montana State, two longtime rivals. They beat both of them for the first time in the same season since 1999. They knocked off their first Pac-12 opponent with their Week 1 stunner on the road at Washington State.
A bowl team.
An 8-3 bowl team. Barnum's squad followed up with a pounding of North Texas, the largest win ever by an FCS over an FBS program. But their season might be cut short tonight if UNI can hang on. And wouldn't this be something? A rematch. UNI, North Dakota State, two teams who know each other so well. The Bison winning on a late touchdown with 35 seconds to go. We talk about magic. The Fargo Dome, one of the most difficult places to play. Look at the yardage put up in that first meeting back in October.
What's interesting about this game is Northern Iowa goes in feeling like they can win this ball game. You're in a controlled environment. We know Northern Iowa plays better inside. I know it's going to be loud, but when you're running the football, I think you're at an advantage as opposed to being a passing team in a very loud environment. So it should be an interesting ball game. Two teams that are very familiar with one another. And you've got a UNI team that's hitting on all cylinders as far as running the football. They've gotten that monkey off their back. Sean, coming here, winning in December, winning in a bad weather game outside. So those are a couple of monkeys that they've gotten off of their backs.
You mentioned on these wet, damp nights, it's always the next day you kind of feel the ailments a little bit. You were describing your days at Florida State when you had to play in a weather night like tonight. It's a painful night to be a football player, isn't it?
Well, you know, they always say this is a lineman's dream to play in these types of games, but it hurts afterwards. This is a cold tub football game.
You look at what UNI has been able to accomplish, and this has become a trend in Cedar Falls. They have been Mr. November under Farley's guidance. This is a program for the second straight year looking at the playoffs from the outside. They were 2-4 at the midway point. They went up to South Dakota State, beat a very good Jackrabbit team on their homecoming weekend. And then you see what they have done. They have followed suit with convincing wins. Eastern Illinois in the first round of the playoffs, and now Farley getting the job done here in Portland. His 9th FCS playoff team at UNI. If things hold true to form, he will tie legendary coach Stan Sheriff for all time on the UNI wins list for head coaches. Farley with 128 victories, and he is 2.5 minutes away from tying Coach Sheriff on those UNI record books. Sheriff with 129 wins. It's been pretty much the purple and gold for Farley throughout his years. It started in his playing days, a linebacker in the mid-'80s. Really an interesting story. His nickname was the Walk-On from Walk-On. W-A-U-K-O-N, a small town just outside Cedar Falls. He wasn't highly recruited out of high school, took a year off after graduating high school, had a job as a truck driver. His route brought him to Cedar Falls every Monday, and he'd always pop in the Unidome just to watch practice, try to stay close to the program. Well, the next year he walked on, and then you know the rest. He walked on in '82. He was a starting linebacker for 3 years, an honorable mention All-American twice. He was part of the 1985 national semifinal run. He is a fixture around the state of Iowa. So much talk with Kirk Ferentz and what he has done with Iowa and Ferentz's tenure. Well, the same thing can be said with Farley. 9 playoff appearances in 15 years. Stability for a UNI program.
Well, this has been a great season of football for the state of Iowa. You mentioned it, Kirk Ferentz, and what that Iowa ball club did, getting to the conference championship game, coming up a bit short earlier this evening. This Northern Iowa ball club playing really good football. It's just a testament to high school football in the state of Iowa and how they develop players and how these players go to the next level and succeed, not only on the field but in the classroom as well.
Farley has had the pleasure of coaching his 2 sons as well. Mentioned Jake graduating last year. Jared Farley leading this Panther defense in tackles tonight. He has an interception as well. And UNI will have a long flight home, but it will be a fun one as they will turn their preparation to another shade of green in North Dakota State next weekend. Smith on 4th down, jumps the pile, and that should seal it. Only appropriate that it was either Tyvis Smith or Aaron Bailey. Those two have got the job done. And for us, as you know fully, you don't have that type of production unless you're getting some blocking up front. The UNI front 5 won the battle tonight, even with their captain, Rathje, banged up.
Great job by the offensive line, and this is the best and most favorite play of any offense of any team. It's called the victory formation. Best play in football.
The all-time wins leader in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And Farley will push his team one step closer now to the quarterfinal round.
Truly an impressive effort by Northern Iowa to come in here in these conditions and run the ball as effectively as they have.
I know UNI fans were stunned earlier in the week when they found out their current athletic director, Troy Dannon, is going to be leaving his spot. He is moving to New Orleans. He'll take over the job at Tulane, try to rejuvenate that program. And everybody you talk around Cedar Falls about the job that Dannon has done as the athletic director at UNI and the success that they have enjoyed in all the sports. We saw the men's basketball team knock off North Carolina not that long ago. The women's hoops team very solid as well. We've talked about the resume of football under Farley's tenure. It's a proud university with a lot of success, and tonight their ground game just too much for Portland State. 2 rushers over 200 yards tonight. 207 for Smith. 200 right on cue for Bailey, and they will end Barney ball here in Portland State.
And I tell you what, the Portland State Ball Club, the players should not hold their heads down. They had a great season. They put up a tough fight throughout. It was not until the latter part of the 4th quarter that this game was decided. They played tough throughout. And hats off to that Portland State Ball Club.
What a year for the Vikings as the 2 coaches come together. Bruce Barnum, in his first season, one of the biggest turnarounds in all of college football, 3-9 a year ago, and he steers his team into the playoffs for just the 2nd time. As the 2 coaches come together, UNI celebrates. The Panthers pick up their 9th win of the season. 29-17. They never trailed in this one. And now they get set to take on a familiar foe in North Dakota State. So here we are late into the night. The final spot filled. The quarterfinal round is set as we take a look at next weekend's brackets for the FCS and the run to a national championship. All Missouri Valley Football Conference in one quarter. North Dakota State, UNI, Richmond and Illinois State colliding in Normal. Your thoughts on those two matchups for us?
Well, the North Dakota State UNI game to me is the biggest game on that side of the bracket. Two teams that are very familiar with one another. Jacksonville State versus Charleston Southern on this side of the bracket is a very interesting game. And Sam Houston State, a team that has often been there, first with Fritz, now with Keeler. That is a ball club that people need to be wary of that can go in and upset some people.
They'll be singing all the way back to Cedar Falls. That's the story tonight from a soggy Portland. For Forrest Conley, I'm Sean Kenny saying so long from Portland. Your final, UNI 29, Portland State 17. To watch this game on replay as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Good night from the Northwest.